and a tip behind him. That's going to be a spin from Goodell. Maybe no, he catches it. How in the world did he catch that?
I have no idea, and I'm not sure Ryan Goodell did either, but he comes back onto the track. A little bit of a check up there around him. That was incredible.
And taking advantage of that, Clayton Ham. Let's take another look at this replay. The 14, all sorts of sideways, and it starts to look like the car wants to go again. That's why he went on the apron. I thought maybe he just was slow and was trying to get out of the way, but he had to save it twice. We are indeed Brunschweiler to the inside of the pair of them. That might not necessarily be the best line unless he can get it woed up in time. He's the bravest on the brakes, and he is going to get it. Wow, the 4 moves up to 5th in a 2-1 move. Side by side between Burns and Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt has the inside, but not a nose ahead at first under braking. It starts to go back ahead. They're going to go wheel to wheel through here, giving each other space. Now it's a drag race, DJ, on who gets to the line first.
And it's going to be a shorter line there for David Burns, but it's not giving any room by Johan Vanderbilt. They're going to dive down into the corner. Little bit of bumping and banging, but who's it going to be? I think it's Burns by 22 thousandths of a second.
Meanwhile, up towards the front for TCRs, this has now swapped. Waring has swapped with Hardman. That took place last time by down the front stretch. Now looking to swap back. Look at this. Ascend to the inside. Hardman runs along the curb in the hairpin and just about completes the pass and does. Battle for second now up as Wager tries to send his way in for Britannia iSports.
Wow, this is a three-way battle for that first position. All these guys are fighting for the lead. This is
3 wide.
Really nice 3 wide going into Cunningham around to Collier. I can't tell who's going to make it out of this in front of this whole pack, but it looks like it's going to still be Hardman. Andrew Hardman doing a beautiful job to hold on to the lead there.
He's been slowly working his way up through the field. I wouldn't have expected it there. Brown maybe thinking about a 2-for-1.
Wow, great heads up by Johnson, who sees him coming and gives him space, and great braking by Travis Brown. I didn't think there was any way that he managed to get side by side.
Nor did I, but he runs wide there, and that's going to open up the door back for Jeffrey Shulam.
Wheel to wheel, fighting for the 9th position, and it looks like Shulam might have it. Travis Brown cutting back underneath. He's going to fight back on Jeffrey, who's had his hands full for just about the last 5 laps in its entirety, and unfortunately, once again, he is snookered around the outside of Sayat.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
Last Tuesday kicked off 2022 Season 2 of the PRL Multiclass Series races with fantastic battles at Sebring and Road America. But it's a long 10-round season, so who can start to build that momentum? We'll find out as we kick off the Tuesday night doubleheader at one of the most challenging tracks in the world. We're heading to the Nürburgring with the GT4s and TCRs with some PRL multi-class racing live here on Global Sim Racing Channel. Hi, and I am back. Been a while. I thought they locked the door, but someone decided to let me back in after a long time away. I am Adam Young, and with me in the booth tonight is Michael Johnson. Behind the scenes, turning the knobs and twisting the dials, is our director, Zach Johnson. And he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. 170 turns, almost 16 miles. Let's hit the key points of the Nürburgring in tonight's track guide.
Welcome to the Nürburgring Nordschleife. Most modern high-end series might use the GP circuit nowadays, but it will certainly never hold the respect and awe that the Northern Loop commands. Though it can be and is usually used in conjunction with the Grand Prix circuit for competitions in real life, here on iRacing, drivers can harken back to a time gone by and just run the 13-mile behemoth this place is known for. Nicknamed the Green Hell by three-time F1 World Champion Sir Jackie Stewart, it is often regarded as the greatest test of a driver anywhere on the planet. Just looking at the stats will tell you why. More than 150 turns and close to 1,000 feet in elevation will pass you by in a single lap. Simply memorizing the course is half the battle for most drivers, let alone being fast. It goes without saying that this place is dangerous. Many fast corners lack runoff. There's blind apexes everywhere, and in a couple cases, even modern cars will get airborne. The list of famous turns is pretty lengthy, but some of the more notorious are places such as Flugplatz, Miss Hit Miss, Bravery Corner, and of course, the ever-iconic Carousel. It's not just the places where you've got to move the wheel that get attention too. The Dottinger Hoa stretches for more than 1.5 miles in length. While you would think this circuit would mainly be limited to the track days most gearheads flock to for a chance to lap the ring, it still sees quite a bit of wheel-to-wheel combat. The 24 Hours of the Nürburgring, the VLN Series, and the World Touring Car Championship all still take the track to this day. Many race fans consider this the mecca of road racing, and any driver who is able to push the limits here often quickly garners their respect.
And that is a quick look at the Nürburgring. Of course, we're not only doing the Nordschleife here today, we are doing the actual GP part of it too, the same layout they use for the 24-hour races. And so for tonight's track description, hey, Michael, you're the one with real-world driving experience here. I'm going to throw it over to you to talk a little bit about the Nürburgring.
Sure thing. So we're looking at a 35-minute race today. We're using the 24-hour layout. Now, it says there are 170 turns, but I kind of think, yeah and no. It depends on how you count them. It depends on what you think of as a turn. And when we are instructing people here at this track, absolutely nothing in what's affectionately referred to as the Green Hell is taught as a single turn. Everything is taught as complexes or groups of turns. There are no single turns in the mindset of the drivers as they're going through all 25 and something kilometers, almost 16 miles of this track. It is absolutely thrilling and absolutely terrifying simultaneously. It is one of the greatest and most feared tracks in the world. Making it around here without having any incident points is going to be one of the biggest challenges that I think we're going to see from everybody on the track tonight.
Yeah, and it's interesting to bring up the fact that how you teach people in the real world is broken up into sections, because it's like anybody like on my teams or anything else that comes to this track, they're racing it for their first time. Oh no, I don't know what to do. It's like, just think of it as sections. So it's interesting to me that's how you do it in the real world too.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. You can't teach 170 turns. It's hard enough to teach the 30, 40 sections. I mean, that's a lot to go through. And sometimes you see names like Schwalenbach, the Flugplatz and Fuchshole, or well, I'll try to the English name Foxhole, calling through these sections. And some of them have adjacent pieces that are all named, but you kind of think of, especially Foxhole, you think of Foxhole as just that whole downhill where you're coming down the hill and you go scoop through the bottom and you're coming up there are 3 separate names for that whole section, but you just think of it as Foxhole because it's a lot easier, and there are, I guess if you think of it that way, fewer things to teach. So sometimes it works out.
Oh, I love that perspective. So that works out. I mean, we do have qualifying on track right now because of the length of the Nürburgring. Qualifying has been extended to 30 minutes here for today, or 4 laps, if you're able to get those 4 laps in 30 minutes. So we'll go and get the sponsors rattled off here. Broadcast tonight brought to you by ASR, owned and operated by passionate SimRacers, advanced sim racing designs and builds, the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
Tonight's broadcast is also sponsored by RaceLab. RaceLab helps you to improve your driving skills. With modern overlays, race statistics, and native VR integration, you can get the best out of iRacing. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
And broadcast today also brought to you by ButtKicker. ButtKicker products add an incredible immersion and realism to any game. Feel every nuance and truly put yourself in the driver's seat. Check them out at thebuttkicker.com.
And finally, the PRL Multiclass series is brought to you by NinjaTrader. Ready to compete against the financial markets? Supporting over 60,000 users across the globe, NinjaTrader provides award-winning trading software and brokerage services. NinjaTrader is always free to use for advanced charting, back testing, and trade simulation. Visit NinjaTrader.com to get started with a risk-free trading simulator and start tracking your performance.
Now, I'm going to go ahead and throw for a loop here, go a little unscripted on us here for just a moment. And Zach, our director, he's going to have to get used to me doing this. It's been a while since he's had to deal with me. But I want to go and take a look at the 16 car, Christopher Kazakow, because as I mentioned, qualifying is underway. Michael, he laid down an 8:51 not too long ago. Get ready to come to the line here again.
Yeah, I was out there practicing with these guys earlier in a ghost car, so I wasn't actually visible to them, but I could see them. And I'm running along, and I ran an 8:52. Now, I got to tell you, that was not easy, but I hadn't been practicing. I hadn't really done anything. I am incredibly used to this track. I taught here, and iRacing has done a brilliant job with this track. This feels, looks, everything works like reality. And especially in this ASR car we're looking at right here, the advanced sim racing car from Chris Kozakov. So I like this car and on this track, and I think they've done a great job. If I'm running an 8:53 with a just basic sprint setup, and he's running an 8:52, and he's running an 8:51, that's kind of like on a regular track being about 1,000th of a second off. Remember, this is an incredibly long 25, 26 kilometers around this track. So if you are within 3, 4, 5 seconds on a lap, you're looking at what would generally be considered maybe a 10th or possibly a 10th and a half on a regular track. But watching somebody like Christopher here got very good control of the car. He's not sliding around a lot. Now, right now, he's on the GP portion of the circuit, but really nice control, nice trail braking into the corners, good throttle control coming out. You don't see, well, now he's going to stop because I think he's decided, well, nobody's going to touch that lap. And you know what? I think he's right. It's going to be hard for anybody to get that 851.
That's right. Hey, it's a perfect lead in to the driver standings because, well, with coming away with the win last week, he is, of course, first in the driver standings. Christopher with 37 points, Van Dale just 3 behind that, Rob Campbell 6 behind, and Luna and Lamke behind there. Of course, these will become a little bit more poignant as we go into next week, it's being just round 2. Team standings just about the same. That advanced sim racing group there, of course, taking the lead on the team standings, which we'll get to here in just a couple of minutes. But Michael, how those TCR standings come out?
Well, TCR is looking pretty much similar. Jonathan Wager is sitting at the top with 36 points. Andrew Hardman in an unusual position of P2, but don't expect him to stay there for long. Andrew Waring in P3, Ozzy Milwane down in 4, and Tyler Scarali holding on strong to that P5 position in the TCR driver standings.
And the team standings over there right now look like this. Advanced Sim Racing, course, up front there. 5-5 Motorsports in second. And Kara Ramrod, I point out there, Charles Sumner, of course, the director of the oval side of the PRL stuff. He's on part Kara Ramrod, sitting in 4th right now. And I think that's about it for the team standings. Of course, the standings and everything else will become a lot more poignant, as I mentioned, as we go into next week, where I believe we are racing at Zandvoort and Watkins Glen in these 2 series that we'll see here tonight, respectively. So, all right, moving on. Hey, you know, it's going to be a long broadcast. We got a lot to talk about here, and trying to see if anybody's on track. So race details right now look like this. Round 2 of 10. We do got a 35-minute race on tap here, and these are open setup cars, and most of the PRL Road Series are open setup, so they are able to fine-tune at least a little bit. It's not like the MX-5s that I drive on Monday night. Not well drive, but still drive, where, you know, you still have a little bit more to tweak here on these GT4s and these TCRs, and even more on the GT3s and LMP2s that we'll see here later on tonight. We got the drive-through penalty, want to hit 13x, and disqualification at 17x. And Michael, I don't know if you were able to go with the watch the MX-5 race last week at the Nürburgring. We did the Nordschleife layout, but those the penalty points could actually play a role as we go through the day.
Absolutely. This is one of the most difficult tracks to get away with a lap being clean. Now, fortunately, it's so long that you can kind of, if you only get 3 or 4, well, you know, you only got 4, maybe 5 laps the whole time. So with that limit, as long as you keep it reasonably clean, you should be okay. It's still going to be challenging, though, because you get that drive-through, and that is going to make a big difference here. It's not as long as the whole track, but, you know, adding 20 seconds for a drive-through or so, however long it is, about 20-ish seconds for that drive-through, it's really going to mess somebody's day up, and they're going to get passed by quite a few cars.
Well, not to mention the pit road layout here is, you know, it's a little bit better on the GT layout. So I guess it's not as much of an issue if you have to make a drive-through layout, but a lot of the other layouts for the, you know, Nürburgring and the Nordschleife, that would cause some issues not only with yourself, but also the competitors.
Yeah, it can be a challenging, but one of the things I like about this track, and it's interesting, I've taken a couple of the people I work with, some of my clients, when they're out of sorts, when things aren't working, and I'll put them in a slow car like a Formula V, or maybe even like the new what was that, the F4 car that came out. I'll throw them in something like that, not incredibly fast, but still fun to drive, and just let them get into a zone. And that's one of the big keys to this track, is not getting caught up in your own head or letting someone else get into your head. You just got to get in a groove here. And when you get into that groove and you relax, man, great things happen. As soon as you tense up, though, you're going to be finding a wall pretty quickly.
And going back to my own driving experience here, that is so true, at least on the sim racing side. It's like the other night, doing fine, only 2 X's in the entire race. The MX-5s getting the last 5 minutes of the race. I think I tried to bend the thing like 5 or 6 times just because I was anticipating the end of the race. Hey, qualifying, getting ready to wrap up here, about 20 seconds left, and still got a few guys out there trying to set times. Muirhead's still out there. Odil's still out there. and trying to see who we got on our screen right now. I believe that's trying to see the car number on that one. That's going to be kind of a, and forgive me, folks, I am known as the butcher of names, and I also still trying to learn
good
cars.
company on that one.
Good deal. Still trying to learn all the cars here for this series, so we'll get better as the season goes along. All right, so lining up for the grid, let's go ahead and take a look at that. I'll get the first 10, throw it over to Michael here for the next 10. Christopher Kaukow there in first, Van Deel in second. Bergquist and Luna are going to make up row 2. Row 3 is going to belong to Campbell and George Giroux. Row 4, Peter Newhook, Devin Lamke going to make up row 4. Row 5, Don Bowden and Cody Hatch.
And then looking at row number 6 in P11, we have got Nicholas Collender, Nick McLaughlin right next to him. Row 7 is Christian Lesiak with Sean Mulholland, Jeffrey Sebak, Dave Peterson, Pierre-Olivier Frechette, Skip Gandy, Mike Witt, and Charles Sumner round out your top 20.
Yeah, Charles Sumner running that driver's meeting for those folks right now. Row 11 is going to go to Pete Thomas and Robert Galanotto. We'll skip on over to the TCRs. On pole for the TCRs here for tonight, you're going to go to Andrew Waring. Andrew Waring putting down a great lap. You're going to notice a lot of these times are going to mix in with the GT4 times. Jonathan Wagner in second. Andrew Hardman and Michael Broomhead going to make up row 2. Row 3 is going to Benjamin Voyer and Ozzy Milwane. Row 4, Jerome Stanton, Sebastian Villeneuve going to be in row 4. Row 5, Parker Muirhead and Malcolm Foster in 10th.
Looking on the next row for the TCR class, we've got Jean-Sebastien Giroux with Phil Amaro, Jeffrey Smith, Pete Bladen, Brian Hoskins not turning a time, as well as James Doherty, Joe McCauley, and Odile. Man, I really need you to tell me how to pronounce this name. I'm going to try Nika Dembev. That's probably the closest I have gotten yet, filling out row 9.
All right, and do we have any more? I believe that's actually it for the grid here for tonight. As I mentioned, you're going to see a lot of mixing up. We were talking before, they're going to have a short pace lap here before they get going. We saw it at Sebring that the classes were mixed up a lot. We're expecting the same thing here tonight, right, Michael?
Oh, absolutely. Now, when you realize these cars really have only about a 50 horsepower difference between them. Now, the GT4s have a little better ability to take control of aero, so they may be able to get into braking zones and around corners a little faster, but those TCRs with that front wheel drive can get on the power a little bit sooner, and I think you're going to see a lot of interesting overlapping from the front portion of those TCRs with the back portion of the GT4s, and of course any crashes that happen, any off tracks that might slow someone down, really is going to make it difficult for people to make a good solid lap and not get intermixing of these two groups. They all want to race, and they should all race. It's no different in real life either. When you watch these guys in real life, you see the exact same thing. The front of the TCR is really almost as fast as the back of the best times out of those GT4s.
Well, pace car getting ready to pull off here. We're going to be going green in just a moment. Christopher going to take him all the way down. He is on the loud pedal. We are away for round 2 of the PRL Multiclass Series GT4s TCRs here at the Nürburgring. Coming across the start-finish line, heading down into turn 1. It looks like Van Dale is going to have to fight for his position. He's getting swallowed up there. Already contact. He is around. Is he going to take his team out? Heads up driving by Christopher to not get involved in that, but fortunately Van Dale is off to the side. We'll take a look at that coming up here in a few minutes. But Bergquist now is trying to settle into second. Johnny Luna back behind him, settling in there as well, as chaos in the back part of the field starts to sort itself out. That was a little bit of head scratcher. TCR, the guys now underway. Once again, these guys a little bit of a separation. Andrew Waring is not the first one to the green to the fine. They're going to make contact here going through turn 1. Andrew Waring and Jonathan Wager. Jonathan Wager is going to get the advantage though after a little bit of bumping. So I guess rubbing his racing a little bit right there. Is that right, Michael?
Well, yeah, but it's a long race and a long track. You really don't want to be bumping anybody anywhere around here. I think honestly we're going to see the most passing opportunities in the GP portion of this track. So maybe they were thinking, hey, let me get it because I got another 9 minutes before I can even think about passing again. But hey, Lowe looks like actually up front in the GT. Yeah, I think that's going to be not Newhook. Who was that? That was Kevin Berquist.
Yeah, he was running in second. So we'll have to see what happened to him here in a minute as well. This is going to be one of those races and one of those tracks where a lot is going to happen. We're going to try to get to all of it out there. So far, there are really just those couple of major incidents that we're going to have to look at as the GT4s start to make their way on to the Nordschleife part of the track. And I always found this first part here, Michael, that these guys are going down to be it's the one that sets the tune for the rest of the lap. If you don't have it right, you're going to have a not fun 8 miles.
Yeah, getting into Hatzenbach is, right there at the sign too. Getting into Hatzenbach really does set up where you're going to feel yourself for the rest of this this green hell portion of the racetrack. You have got to get into a different mode. It is a different feel of surface. It is a different feel of how the corners are put together. You have to change your mojo kind of when you switch over and you start getting down into Hatzenbach and working your way to Adenauer Forst and all that. If you're out of that mindset and you're back like you were on the GP course, you're not going to do well on this, and this is where you spend the majority of your laps. So you really have to pay attention as you watch them coming past the 4-kilometer sign here, trying to make their way around into getting up close to the foxhole here.
Yeah, now it's Nick McLaughlin that we saw there cutting a little too much turb. Looks like Jeffrey Sebach is now off as well. We'll look at him here in just a minute. We're going to have a lot of first lap action to catch up on here in a few minutes. Right now, Christopher is actually, who's that off now? I believe we got one of the TCRs. Jean-Sebastian Giraud is off as well. A lot of guys starting to catch too much curb. That's been the most of these single car accidents as they've gotten onto the Nordschleife that I've seen here. Got to be careful on some of those curbs.
Yeah, and if you notice right there in that shot we just had with the with our two leaders very close together on this track in real life and in iRacing, pretty much if you see bricks on it, like we just watched them hit right there, you can touch the bricks. But if that curbing doesn't have bricks on it, you need to stay off of it because it's just too steep, too angled. The ones where they do have the bricks, as we watch them come around this corner here, you're going to see they come up with an at the exit of the not this left, but the very next one right here. Those bricks right there, you can touch those. That's fine. And if they're on the inside, you're going to notice that you can touch them there too, but you really got to be careful when you come off of it. As long as you have the car set up to not be too bouncy, you've got your rebound set up on those dampers just right, you're going to be fine. Now, as we watch them come around here, we're coming down into one of the first slowdown zones. It doesn't happen in the race, but right there, you see how he got out on the bricks? That's exactly what you want to do. That's where you want to place the car going through that particular section. As we got another spinner.
It looks like Cody Hatch is pointing the wrong way, waiting for an opportunity to see if he can be able to get it straightened here, which is going to be hard to do on the narrow confines once you're on the Nordschleife. In fact, here comes some of the TCRs. He just decides to go ahead and take the tow. We'll look what happened to him here in just a minute. But back to the battle up front. Johnny Luna and Christopher Kazakow here is pretty intense. Johnny Luna hanging with Christopher, I think, a little bit better than some of us anticipated with some of those times that were being put down in qualifying. You think, Jake, now Christopher's just kind of buying his time and just settling into a pace?
Well, yeah, and under a tenth of a second is crazy on this track. I've done long 24-hour races here, and generally, if you are this close to somebody, you're gonna get around them. But right now, this is early in the race. Both of these guys are smart drivers. We've watched Johnny and we've watched Christopher in previous seasons. We know what they're gonna do. We know they're gonna probably try to sit here, pull away from the rest of the crowd. We've got Peter Newhook about 6.5 seconds behind Johnny right now. No reason for these guys to push too hard. Just drop it right down into the carousel. Very nice and clean. Power out, head up to the top of the hill.
Well, I think we've settled into a moment here that we can fire up the Gsrc replay machine. Go ahead and go take a look what happened. First, I think with Van Deel at the start of this race, if Zach's able to do that. And going into turn one, a little bit chaotic in those GT4s. And Van Deel making contact with Bergquist.
Yeah, that 3 wide there was probably a little overzealous as we watch them crossing up here, trying to get in here. Watch it right here, 3 wide, trying to fight for space. That was a little bit too much. Now, it could have been a little bit of net code, but, you know, first lap, long race, 9-minute laps, really not the thing you need to be doing. So I'm a little surprised with the quality of these drivers to see a move like that early in the race.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and it's had a little bit of I guess, contemplation on their efforts too. And, you know, Bergquist, after making that contact there at the start of the race, he ended up with his own trouble just a little bit later on that lap. And I got to see still on my end. I haven't actually had a chance to go back and look at it myself yet, if it was just a self spin or not yet. But, you know, just some of our front runners having a little bit of trouble. And right now, though, we're looking at Bergquist here on your screen, trying to find it on the Gsrc replay machine. I don't know if we're going to be able to or not, though, and that is just fine, as actually might have been a little bit of contact there. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and skip that one. I'll just tell you what happened, as it looks like just a little bit of just rear end braking loose there while they were still on the Grand Prix circuit. So, all right, we'll skip all that, get back to live action. Bergquist, though, trying to make up what spots he can. Bergquist definitely has the car to go a little bit on the quicker side here for today, if he could just stay out of trouble the rest of the way.
Yeah, staying out of trouble is really the key at this track. And right now they're coming up to what's known as the kleines Carousel, or the small carousel. And this is where you kind of get to take the big deep breath and think, okay, the hell portion of the green hell is almost over. I'm gonna get on that long straightaway, because about here is where you're gonna put the hammer down and just hold on to the edge all the way around. Now you've heard times mentioned from people who come out and do the track days or whatever out here, called bridge to Gantry. That Audi Sport right there that you see, that's the Gantry. The bridge, well, that's where Christopher and Johnny just passed. That's how much of a gap we got going on here. I believe, actually, no, they weren't quite that. Yeah, they are that far down. So it is a long way between these guys, really hoofing it. So this is going to be an interesting race as we watch them coming down to the bridge right now in that P3 group.
And that is a long way that they got to go. Very, very fast. Fastest part of the racetrack, obviously. Trying to see something happen here with Jonathan Wager a minute ago. He has decided to back out of the session, and he was running second in the TCRs when it happened.
Oh, Luna crashed. Luna crashed.
Oh, P2 Luna. See what happened to him. Going slow. Jonathan Wager, by the way, did crash out as well. I don't think we're going to be able to go back and take a look at it, but that was second in TCR, second in the GT4s, now having his own problems. Got that fired up here on the Gsrc replay machine. Going into turn one, and back end just comes right around once it gets light.
Yeah, it might have had the rear end a little bit too high on that car. You got to be careful here at this track. And then just a little bit of a spin, got the rear tires too hot. But right now, he is sitting up right behind Peter Newhook. I think we might see a pass before the end of the GP section here.
So trying to make up for lost time right there now. I mean, now he's got to play catch up with Kazukawa now 12 or 12 seconds ahead. So Newhook and Luna have to get this sorted out quick if Luna's going to have a chance of getting back up there and fighting for that lead. It's a long 24 minutes to go here as Luna does make that pass over Peter Newhook. Peter Newhook has always been one of those guys. He's very steady. You know, he's not going to make a lot of waves. He's just out there driving, usually pretty quick, and I didn't expect him to really contest that with Luna right there.
Yeah, at this point in the race, there's really no point in doing that. He's already seen Luna maybe overdriving. That's one thing you could divine from that if you were trying to think what's going on with that guy. And now that you got him in your sights, just hold on, just keep doing what you were doing. There's no reason to push the car, because yeah, you caught him once without having tried too hard. Let him make the mistakes, and that'll be an easy pass. And the bonus right now is he gets to stick onto Luna's tail and try to follow him down, get a little bit of that draft as they head through Hatzenbach right now, working their way on, and hopefully be able to close up that almost 14 seconds up to P1 Christopher Kozakov.
Let's go ahead and check in with our TCR leaders here real quick. We haven't really talked a whole lot about them. Andrew Waring right now actually really starting to pick off some of the back end of the GT4s already. So a little bit of traffic in the reverse sense with getting past Pete Thomas, and Pete Thomas trying not to use that straightaway speed too much to come right back at Andrew Waring in that very slightly slower TCR. Michael Broomhead is still within shouting distance, though, of Andrew Waring as we go through. He's only about 2 seconds behind. You can still see him up there. And just behind Broomhead, you do have Benjamin Boyer. So that's your top three in your TCR, all under 3 seconds from first to third right now. So probably our most competitive out of the two divisions out there racing at the moment, with still some good battles on track. And also, when we get a little bit further back in the TCRs, still have a few of those guys that are racing pretty close to each other. But those GT4s, the slower end of the GT4 field, really mixing in with those TCRs at this point.
Yeah, and it's going to be able to work to some advantage for example, Michael Broomhead. He's able to get into a little bit of a draft on Pete Thomas. There's really only about a second between them, and Pete Thomas is still a second off of Andrew Waring. He's being polite and not really using that power to overtake and maybe mess him up, because different ideas of braking zones, of course, different classes, you're going to have different braking opportunities, braking locations. So I think he's trying to be careful and not mess up someone else's race. But there we see him. See how he used that curbing right there where the bricks were?
Whoa, use that where they're a little bit too much. Berkeley's going around.
Now he's got some grass, and grass is not what you want. But right there, getting back out on those bricks. Look at that, though. See, you got on the grass, and it messed him up. He was out on those bricks. Everything was fine. But right now, looks like Pete Thomas is getting impatient, wants to get around.
And see, that right there was Berquist on a recovery drive, having an issue, and now going to have to try to recover again. Back to this McLaren, and see, that's Andrew Waring right there again with still with Robert Galanotto right behind him. Andrew Waring setting some pretty good pace in that TCR here for today. But as I mentioned, I mean, you still have Hardman, you still have Brewman right behind them that can still try to do something. This Ozzy Milwane, excuse me, I'm missing something here. My apologies, folks. Yeah, I guess I missed Andrew Hardman falling back just a little bit there with everything that happened there between Bergquist and everything else. Yeah, Zach Johnson's already making fun of me for missing 2 moments at the same time. But Hardman, get ready to come right back here on Ozzy Milwane as I get my own bearings straight. Just cannot get it. But, you know, it's hard on this section of the track to actually make a clean move unless somebody just lets you by. That way to not impede the both of you.
Yeah, we're coming to this uphill section, though, right after this. They're going to come down to the bottom of the hill here, get the car slowed down. So they go around this left-hander, then they're going to have a slight brake, and it's faster than most people think. But as they come around this corner, you've really got to get the power down right there. You use all the track, because now this is a long uphill section, and with the horsepower these cars have, they do accelerate all the way up, and they will be in their top gear, but this is not where they're going to hit their top speed. These guys are going to be pushing every last bit of horsepower they've got, and you know, being in the draft, not a bad place to be, because a pass can be made here. However, very narrow track, and you see how wide that car is right now.
Yeah, and you can actually hear Andrew Hardman actually back off a little bit. Now, you know, we talk about in the Mazdas, in the MX-5s, possibly doing a little bit of bump drafting, which is its own thing this year. It really does not seem like in this season that they changed something. Bump drafting really doesn't work that well in the Mazdas anymore. But could you potentially bump draft in these TCRs going down some of these longer straights?
Well, in real life, yeah, I've done it. I've worked with other people and used a little bit of a bump draft, but in iRacing it doesn't seem to work quite as well. I would expect it to work better than it does as we watch these guys now.
Was watching this P7 battle in the TCRs. Malcolm Foster just went around in the grass. That's going to end that battle there. The Clayton nose cover comes off.
Oh, wow, yeah. A big hit on that. Looks like he was battling with Phil Amaro there and did not get the best of that. Looks like Phil was able to get out of that one a little bit cleaner.
Well, Malcolm, for the most part, the Australian going to be able to try to get past and try to recover on. You know, a little bit of front end damage probably is going to hurt him too much. It's all about pace here anyway. All right, so back up to your lead. Andrew Waring up there still. Let's see now. We've got Michael Broomhead and Benjamin Voyer. So this is a battle now that is shaped up back to P3 for the TCRs. And Andrew Waring, by the way, he's been able to get out to over 6 seconds now on these guys. From a few minutes ago, they were all within 3 seconds. Now, from first to second, it's going back to 6 seconds. And notice those TCRs,
tight, though. Getting back behind that.
With those TCRs, the short wheelbase, they actually catch a little air right there.
Oh, yeah. It's a lot about the speed right here. This is what's affectionately called the jump. As you're coming down into that, it's affectionately called the jump, and everybody who's here a lot knows what you're talking about. There are two. There's an uphill jump and there's a downhill jump, and this is the one almost everybody jumps on. I think maybe on like a Formula V, you might not jump because, you know, it's hard to get the speed, but everything else will jump there. As we watch them coming down here into the little carousel. I default to the German name. Sorry, I'll call it little carousel here. And now they get the car set up all the way on the left side, and it looks like Voyer is going to be in the Voyeur's position. That was terrible. I should not have said that. Was an awful joke. Sorry for that one. But he's going to be in a great spot because he's sitting right in the draft on the longest straight of this entire track, and he's going to be able to close up this gap. Watch for them to get down towards the bridge. That is bridge as in bridge to Gantry. So get down towards the bridge. He's going to be able to close this up and get right up there as we watch with about a 4.5, 5 mile per hour speed difference coming through the last little uphill section. Tucks up under the inside, and he's going to make that pass before they get to the Bilstein Bridge.
And right behind them, Andrew Hardman making almost that exact same move on Ozzy Milwain, but he's not able to complete the move. There's a almost door right there coming at the end of the straight. Andrew, Pete Thomas getting past those guys again. They're going to have to fight to get back around him as they start entering onto the Grand Prix part of the course. Almost a little bumper there saying, hey, might be best just to let us have this battle, but they will go down the front straightaway here, still in that running order with the GT4 of Pete Thomas and the TCRs battling for position of Ozzy Milwain and Andrew Hardman. Seeing some cars coming down pit road already, and now that we are past halfway in this race, we probably will see some pit stops. As there is that bumper. There goes around Pete Thomas.
Yeah, Pete Thomas just going a little bit too slow for these guys into that turn one. Turn one is a difficult turn in a rear-wheel drive car. Those front-wheel drive cars actually do have a little bit of an advantage going through there. When I've looked at data driving both of these cars, both the TCRs and the GT4s, the TCRs seem to be able to get the rotation around there a little bit better, partially because of setup, but partially just because where the drive wheels are. And I think that kind of worked to the disadvantage of Pete back there.
You know, I will say, there are sometimes in some of these broadcasts, and I'm not saying no, and I'm not pointing fingers, but they say that we don't focus on the slower classes enough. Well, that's not the case today, as the TCR have definitely had the battles out there, but let's still check in with our leader, Christopher Kazakow. He is setting a pace now up to 14 seconds above second place Johnny Luna. Johnny Luna himself is 6 seconds past Peter Newhook, and then you have to go another 8 seconds back to Bowden. So a lot of separation now so far in the GT4. Back to the TCRs is finally seeing that pass there. Is Boyer able to get around Broomhead? back around him anyway, as they start to get back onto the Nordschleife. Slightly different lines there on that first corner of the Nordschleife.
Yeah, and it's how you're trying to set yourself up. There's an opportunity there to defend. There's an opportunity to attack, and you kind of have to understand what the driver you are either defending against or attacking is going to do. So you can change your line, but that's probably not the most effective one because, as we've said before, the grass is not the quick way around this track.
Right, now Michael Broomhead just doing a little bit of lawn mowing for the Nürburgring grounds and, grounds, grass department, all those folks out there, helping them out a little bit, but it did cost him a few seconds to get back to Benjamin Voyer. I have a feeling that he'll be able to get back up to him and resume that battle in a few minutes. Behind them, though, Ozzy Milwain and Andrew Hardman, that was a battle we were following as well for 4th and 5th. Hardman has been able to completely get around Andrew Hardman, and already has about 2 seconds on him. So starting to see some separation there. And then now you have to go back a good long ways before you start to get back to 6th, 7th, and 8th in the TCRs as well. So starting to see some separation here and starting to get to a phase of the race where it's all about trying to keep out of trouble here at this point.
Yeah, and if we take a look back up towards the front where we see Devin Lamke, Lamke's getting pretty close to Nick Colander, Colander. Sorry, it would be 2 L's, I suppose. Let us know when you make it to the podium this race, exactly how we're supposed to say your name, your last name there. But Devin really trying to close it up. He's only about 3/10 off of him. He's in a good position, and that car's got some power and a good driver behind the wheel. We're about to see a really good opportunity as they come down to the bottom, try to get around this corner right here as they go down into that scoop and let the car come out as we head back up the hill. Oh, no, sorry, I'm in the wrong section. This is actually the slowest portion of the racetrack. That corner right there, you get down to first gear in a lot of cars just to go around that double left, and that is challenging.
Yeah, and that's also, to me, like, if I'm going to run into trouble, it was right there. We got that big concrete wall, and I'm not as familiar with the track names here as Michael Johnson or a Joe Peak, but I just look at that as the big white concrete wall I don't want to hit, and that's usually what I end up finding when I'm at the Nürburgring. They got through that section. Now full blast, heading into the right-hander, and while they're battling here, Rob Campbell has been able to gain on these two, so we're going to have a 3-car battle shaping up here.
Yeah, never count Rob out. Now, in the F3 series where Rob was racing before, there was one racer there that I described as Mr. Sneaky, because they always started kind of far back, and the next thing you knew, without anything going on that you were aware of, he was all of a sudden on the podium. I think we're going to have to move the moniker of Mr. Sneaky over to Rob Campbell, because Rob is doing some good work here, working his way back up. He's down, though. I believe he started in P4 or P5. He's actually down 2 positions right now. So he started in 5th. He's down to 7th. Early on in the race, that lap 1 incident kind of caught him up, but he's working his way back here. I would not be surprised if Rob made his way to the podium.
Oh yeah, with as spread out as they are right now, might have to have a few guys run into trouble, but trouble's always lurking right around the next corner at the Nürburgring. So he just has to keep his nose clean and keep her steady. And yeah, that possibility is definitely open. I mean, let's just say, for instance, something happens up here between Devin and Nicholas. I mean, very well could catapult him up into 5th in a blink of an eye, as long as he doesn't get involved in it himself, which is sometimes a tough task in the narrow confines.
Yeah, and these guys really need to start working together at this point if they're going to do anything. So Nick, Devin, and Rob, just kind of sit back. You're only a couple of tenths apart, and you've got 6 seconds up to Dan Bowden, or Bowden, however that one. You make it to the podium too. Let us know how the right way to say your name is. And we got it off. We've got it off. That looks like Colander went off.
Right back onto the track. He's sitting in the middle of the track. He's gonna be able to get back out of it or get going by the time Bergquist gets there. Bergquist coming up on him fast. Bergquist gonna have to take evasive action.
That may be the end of the day for that car. There he goes. He has pushed the tow button. He's headed back to the pits for that long tow as we switch back here, and we're watching these guys not letting go. It's going to be Rob Campbell and Devin Lamke. They are still very tight under 0.4 of, under a tenth. He's going to try to make a pass down into the jump, getting around him. Rob Campbell makes the pass.
Great textbook pass there by Rob Campbell, being able to get through there. Maybe a little bit too of him letting them by, which would be just fine. You don't want to hold each of them up, because I think right now these guys have to think, especially Lamke and Campbell, that Bergquist is on a recovery drive. Bergquist is angry after 2 problems in this race, and Bergquist is gaining on them at the current rate. So that'll be something they'll have to watch out for as we get a little closer to the end of this race. But we're sitting here now with about 8 minutes and 40 seconds left in this one. And Bergquist running out of time, so Lamke and Campbell just really have to keep their noses clean.
Yeah, right now it looks like Bergquist is running the fastest predictive time. We have software on the side here that lets us know what predicted lap times are. Bergquist is looking like he's running an 8:55. That is a qualifying pace, while Campbell and Lamke, Campbell's on a 9:02, Lamke's on a 9:08. So at an 8:55, that's a big difference. And with a 5-second gap, that's going to be closed up to nothing when they get to the start-finish line.
Yeah, and as we get back up to looking at Bergquist again, and hey, we haven't checked in with Christopher Kazakow here. He is currently still just clicking right along. We're
He's
now
in a
up
world of his own, really, isn't he?
I actually think that he's backed off a touch from how he was. I should look at his lap times here.
Oh, he ran an 8:55 flat. Now if that's backing off, well, I guess he qualified with an 8:51, right? Yeah, it was an 8:51 because it had just nicked my 8:52 that I had run. So yeah, if he's running an 8:55, that's really not much of a difference at this track.
It's really not. I'm just looking at the differential between him and Luna. It seems to be holding steady right about 16 seconds. So he knows right now that he's got it. He's just got to finish. And then talk about Johnny Luna here, who himself has had a great race. They had a few issues earlier on, mostly not necessarily issues with Luna, but things that happened around him. And that kind of helped him get settled into second. Peter Newhook now back into third. Peter Newhook, of course, I got to give a shout out to Peter Newhook. He's been on a lot of different series over the years for GSRC and everything else. So good to see him here running these GT4s for tonight. And, doing pretty well, looking like he might get himself a podium in class. It really, just with all of these GT4 guys, they just have to stay steady. As we go back to the battle here, this is the Voyer Broomhead battle with Andrew Hardman now having caught up. So we're back to a 3-car battle for second, third, and fourth in TCR.
Yeah, it looks like Hardman's really trying to get back to where he feels he's supposed to be. He's up there with his teammate. We see the two Savia Ukraini cars. My Ukrainian pronunciation is awful. We'll stick it in German. I'll be fine. English, I'm great. But yeah, Ukrainian's a little hard. But Broomhead doing a nice job making a little push against Benjamin there. And I think Hardman's ready to get around both of them, as Broomhead has this closed up to right around a tenth as he gets his nose in there. Looks like he's side by side coming into the corner, gets it just in there. Looks like that pass is done and dusted.
And Andrew Hardman just sitting there waiting for something to happen between those two during that sequence, and maybe he can capitalize on it. It looks like he's going to have to get around Benjamin Voyer here the old-fashioned way, locked into his draft. Great passing opportunity coming up here. If he sticks his nose out, he's not going to do it. He's going to wait behind there. Plenty of more opportunities to come up as we go through the next, about 160 turns or so. There he is. He's going to make his move onto the Nordschleife here.
Yeah, when I saw that he didn't make it coming out of Bilstein, I knew his next good opportunity was going to be that cutover onto the Nordschleife, and that's where it was going to happen. Sure enough, I think we were thinking the same thing. He popped it right in there, got the nose in, made that pass look really easy.
Well, now he's got his teammate in front of him, Michael Broomhead, and now might have a teammate on teammate race here next couple laps. I shouldn't say next couple of laps, because this is the Nürburgring. We only have 1 lap left, even though it doesn't quite feel like it just yet, as they are, have in fact taken the white flag. This will be a good chance here. If he wants to make a move on his teammate, they might start thinking about it.
Yeah, we've got one opportunity right here. So after we cut, this is the uphill jump. So as you hit that jump, coming through there, now we've got a straightaway going all the way down to Adnauerforst. So from this point, about 4 kilometers into this portion of the track, this is where he has an opportunity. But remember, he also needs to defend Benjamin behind him. Benjamin's just right at a 10th. They are so close to each other through here. All 3 driving Hyundais. We've got we've got one of the Veloster, and then the other 2 are going to be the Elantras.
Yeah, that's Voyer, of course, in the Veloster, and hoping the Veloster gives him an extra little bit of velocity to try to get around these 2. And, you know, as long as these 3 stay this close, I mean, this really could be a fight here all the way to the end of this next lap as the drafting really starts setting, especially we get the Donahoe there toward the end of the lap and be able to see what they can do. But slightly different lines once again, everybody looking for that little bit of an advantage, hitting that curb, possibly hitting that curb a little too much.
Yeah, and a little bit of defensive action there too. I think Hardman is trying to do the sportsman thing with his teammate, not attack him too hard. He's really in a good position to make that pass once they get around to the straight. All he needs to do is stick on his tail and keep the attack from Voyer behind him off of Broomhead. So he and Broomhead can work together as teammates to make this run through the green hell and keep themselves into a much better second and third position to fill out those bottom 2 steps of the podium. I'm sure they'd like to see the other step, but you know, with 15 seconds between Broomhead and Waring, it's going to be a little bit difficult to make that up. It's going to take some major issues from Waring, but he's been running some very nice laps. He's running about a 9:04 on this one, I think. 9:03, 9:04 is his predicted on this particular one. So I don't think these guys are going to catch him because they're running prediction around 9:09, 9:10.
Ran a little wide there. It was almost a big problem for those 3. Speaking of problems, Kevin Bergquist just had another issue. Got in the wall. We don't need to go look at it, but had to give up that battle for 6 that he was in with Devin Lemke and the GT4s. Meanwhile, this is still the battle on the track. We'll follow it as long as we can here.
So that means Campbell actually did get around Lemke. So great job for Campbell. Looks like Campbell may have made up another position. I think he is ahead of Bowden now. That puts Campbell into P4. So Campbell doing his best to move up here. There he is at the left side of your screen. He is really moving up. I think he's got his sight set on Newhook, but you know, with 14, 13 seconds to get there, again, it's going to take a major mistake from Newhook for that to happen. And we got a top runner. That's what we call those when they miss the entry, top runner. But it could also be damaged. Is this car damaged? Which car is this? This is... That's going to be Bowden. He just crashed, so he's got some issues trying to make sure the car's not too bad, but he's also doing a little bit of lawn maintenance for the crew out here, just trying to limp it back and hope for the best he can get out of points here.
So going back to that TCR battle there that we've been following with Broomhead, Hardman, and Voyer, Ozzy Milwain trying to make his appearance still known here. He's right there.
He wants to be part of the party.
Yeah, we're gonna have a 4-car battle here for the TCR second place spot as we start to go into the back half of the lap.
Yeah, it's all Hyundai, but only one Veloster in there. Feeling a little left out, I'm guessing, is going to be our third man in that group, Benjamin Voyer. Yeah, here we go, trying to make our way through. This is going to be a tight group. I don't think we're going to see anything, honestly, until we get around probably either just out at the little carousel, which we're going to come up to here shortly, just a few turns away. Wait, are they in YouTube? This might be YouTube. Nope, that was not YouTube corner. So many corners here. Oh, here we go. Coming up into YouTube corner. That's not the official name for it, but it has gotten the moniker here of YouTube corner because on our left side here is where everybody sits up and watches with their GoPros or whatever, and they catch people doing exactly what we just watched there from Ozzy Milwain, getting a little bit too wide, and they put those out on YouTube, although they're usually a little bit more dramatic.
Yeah, meanwhile, we're getting close enough to the end here that we got to go up to Christopher Kazakow. He is getting ready to come back onto the GP course front straightaway. Dominating performance here for today. It's a great day. And with you as the leader, we don't talk about you so much that you're up front so much. And that is exactly the kind of day that Chris has as he's coming across to take the checkered flag for round 2 of the PRL GT4 TCR series. You're back here into second now, coming onto the front straightaway in his BMW. Johnny Luna with the great performance here this afternoon. Avoided some trouble, was able to get home here in the second place, and looks like Peter Newhook behind him is going to be able to round out the podium as long as he can make the little bit, nothing happens to the car, no engines blow up or anything else, he's going to be able to take third and finish out the podium for the GT4s in that Aston Martin.
Yeah, 19 seconds and 12 seconds between them, respectively, between P2 and P3. Rob Campbell trying to bring up the next position, working his way down the straight. But let's take a look at what's going on back here with our leader in that's going to be Waring in the TCR.
You can see the speed difference there between the TCR and the GT4, this portion of the racetrack, as that was Dave Peterson that just blew by Andrew Waring. Doesn't matter, though, because Andrew Waring's going to take the class victory here in the TCR. Another one where it's like, if we don't talk about you a whole lot, it's a good day, because he just dominated that TCR field after about the first lap and be able to come home with that win here for a guy that I've raced with plenty of times back in the major series and everything else. Now back to that P2 battle. How's that going to shape up? Andrew Hardman going to be able to get P2. Any last minute moves from Milwayne, Foyer, anybody? No, it doesn't look like as they come across the line. Ozzy Milwayne was able to sneak in there into fourth position with that. And we got another battle here coming across the line, coming onto the front straightaway. Van Dale on that recovery drive, trying to take away the 17th to 18th spot overall from Dan Giroux, and you also got Christian Lasik behind him, as looks like they're going to pretty much finish in that order that they came out of the last corner in. No surprises there.
Yeah, good recovery drive from Danik there. Remember, he was in P2 and was involved in that lap 1 incident, got spun around going into turn 1. But nice recovery drive, getting back as far as he did, ending up in 11th in class.
All right, next battle on your screen. You got Muirhead and Macaulay. Macaulay has to give it up. He's going to slip back into the draft of Muirhead. And, you know, there's some cars, like I'm thinking of you, Skip Barbers, I'm thinking of you, Mazdas, that you could swap that lead, that position back and forth 3 or 4 times by the time you get to the hard left-right combination. Not going to be the case today, as Macaulay cannot get back to Muirhead's rear bumper. He's going to make one last dive of it here. They're going to make contact.
Oh, no, there's contact.
He lets off the gas, lets him get straightened out. That wasn't something he wanted to do, so he does a sportsman thing and back out of it a little bit before things get worse. So that's going to finish there with Muirhead and Macaulay in 20th and 21st overall. I have to see where that was in class. Everybody else, I think, is just going to kind of round out the finishing order here as completing laps. But we still got a few guys. I believe this is John Sebastian Giroux will be the next one to come across the line. Again, pretty uneventful day. It's a good day if, you know, we ultimately didn't talk about you.
Yeah, that's one sign of success on this track in particular, is if you don't get a lot of attention, it probably means that you are driving a super clean race and you're way out front and nobody's messing with you. I think for me, some of the biggest times, I actually had a sponsor re-up for an entire year after they were really kind of hemming and hawing. Final race of the year, got turned sideways, went 90 degrees to the normal position of the track, took out about 6 brake markers, and had a camera following me the whole way. Big giant sign on the side of the car for that particular sponsor, and they were like, okay, we're going to take the whole next season, because they got a lot of coverage for that, especially in replays.
Well, that ended up working out. Let's run through your finishing order before we had talked to everybody here for tonight, and take a look at the GT4 results. And Christopher Kazakow just dominating performance over Johnny Luna, almost 20 seconds. Peter Newhook, another 13 seconds behind that. So that's your podium there with Kazukawa, Luna, Newhook. Rob Campbell in 4th, Lamke in 5th, Bergquist 6th in a recovery drive, and even having a little trouble there right at the end. Pierre Oliver Frigette in 7th, Dave Peterson in 8th, Pete Thomas in 9th, and Don Giroux in 10th position. Now round out your GT4s. Van Dale had to recover a drive himself in 11th, Lasiak in 12th, Witt 13th, Bowden 14th, Colander in 15th, Mulhan 16th position, Skip Gandy coming in 17th, and everybody else here 1 lap down or more. Running into issues as Galanto, McLaughlin, Charles Sumner was having issues pretty early on in this race. Seaback and Cody Hatch will round out your GT4 field. As Michael's going to have the TCRs.
Taking a look at our TCR battles, really good battle. Little for those second position and third, but Andrew Waring taking the win for that one. Andrew Hardman working his way back on somewhat of a recovery drive himself. Beautiful driving right there at the end of the race to pull out P2 with his teammate Michael Broomhead right behind him in P3. Ozzy Milwain in 4th, Voyer 5th, Amaro, Muirhead, Macaulay, Giroux, and Foster round out your top 10. Looking at the next page, we've got Hoskins in 11th, Bladen in 12th, Smith, Nikodembiv. I really need you to get on the podium so I can interview and find out how to say your name. Sebastian Villeneuve in 15th, Stanton in 16th, 1 lap down, along with Jonathan Wager 3 laps down in 17th.
All right, so we're going to go ahead and get the interviews going. I think Michael's going to catch up with Chris, your winner in the GT4s.
Well, Chris, that was quite an interesting race for everyone else. You just seemed to check out from the very beginning of that race. You took off. You opened up a bit of a gap. You had a little bit of a pressure from Luna there for a bit, but then you just took off. What was your secret to this race?
Actually, no prep. Having no prep, getting here last minute and doing the race I think I was not stressed out at all. I was just having fun. So I think that's the reason why I finished the race without hitting the wall. Almost did a couple of times, but yeah, I know that Luna was quicker than me in the first couple of sectors for sure. So it would have been a good battle, but he missed out on the T1, I think, on the second lap falling. Good battle though.
So more of a personal nature question here.
Yes.
What is the right way to say your last name? I'm just saying the German or Polish version of Kozakov, because that's what I'm used to seeing and saying. So you want us to pronounce the W with the harder V?
I don't mind either the W or either the V or just a ko. So Kozakov or Kozako, whatever. This not Kozakov.
No Kazakh. There's no cow in Moscow. There's no cow in Kazakov. Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
Gotcha. So now when I'm working with some of my clients, this is actually one of the tracks I bring them to when they're out of sorts, which seems kind of backwards. But every time somebody's looked at me sideways when I'm doing iRacing coaching, and I say, look, here we go. We're going to come out to this track, and you're just going to get into a groove. You were in a serious groove there, and with no prep, that was pretty good. How much have you driven this track, and do you use it in a similar way to kind of get your groove back?
I've did about, let's say, 30 laps in total on this track.
So 6 hours.
Yeah, about. And from start of last week, from the race, I didn't know anything about after the carousel, the track. I didn't know anything about it. So I just learned it as much as I could during the week. And then, yeah, it worked out a lot. I watch a lot of telemetry and pro driving, and it works out.
Well, that was really a brilliant drive. You were able to just pull out from the beginning and let everyone else's mistakes work to your advantage, and you kept a clean race. For that clean race, I'm sure you got people to thank. Who's on the top of that list?
To be honest, I want to thank, Advanced SimRacing for sure, for helping me out getting the setup I have. Everything I'm racing with is from there, and I've been with them since the start, and it's I have good equipment, and it probably helps me being consistent around the track. So I have to thank them for sure. And then my dad, because he does sim racing with me, and he helps me out with the sim racing stuff too. So yes.
Well, big thanks to you. Appreciate you being here. Great racing. Glad you have some amazing equipment from ASR. So, yeah, I hope I can get some ASR equipment myself one of these days. But in the meantime, we've got Andrew Waring waiting to be interviewed by Adam.
Yeah, Andrew Waring. It's been a while since we talked, going back to the majors days. Andrew, fantastic TCR drive here for today. I mean, just like how Christopher just did in the GT4s, you just ran away from the field.
Yeah, I mean, I got pretty lucky there with, I'm not sure what actually happened with Jonathan. I think he disconnected. It looked like he just disappeared off my screen, and then again, it looked like there was some issues into T1 with the other guys, unfortunately. So I'm sure they were doing a lot of damage, and yeah, I just had to bring it home. So it was really an enjoyable race. Just driving around that track in that car is great.
It's like you mentioned that, you saw that some things happened behind you, people disappeared. It really was about survival here for today, even with as fast as you were.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I got caught out on the start a little bit, and once I realized that I could hang with Jonathan, I was going to take my time, and just make sure it was easy, because it's like 172 corners. It's so many opportunities to make a mistake, so I just didn't see a point. And then it kind of mistakes just happened around me, and I was able to just kind of chug my way on my own pace. And again, it was a really enjoyable race. So,
well, Andrew, real quick, anybody you'd like to thank here for tonight?
Yeah, Britannia helped us with the setup there tonight. We're kind of working with them together this season. They've been churning out some really good setups as quickly as you've seen Hardman and Broomhead and all those guys, and just Evolve Sim Sports, which is our team, and our sponsors Muradness and Direct Innovations, and you guys at Gsrc and PRL for putting the series on. It was great. They're really fun.
Well, thank you very much, Andrew. Congratulations again here today for coming away with the class win. And I believe next up, we're going to go ahead and grab Peter Newhook, who I believe finished third in the GT4s.
Peter, that was kind of a lonely race for you, except for one little bit where it looked like we had a big smile for the camera first, but we had looked like, I think it was Johnny Luna, after an incident coming back through. You didn't put up much of a battle. Did you just kind of figure, I like P3 and I'm going to sit here, or what was going on there? Well, we can see you talking, but we can't hear you. Do you have your mute button pressed?
Might work a little better.
There we go. Okay, now we can get to the answer for the question. That was the practice version.
Definitely. I think I heard on the chat, and I saw Johnny Luna blinking out a little, so I knew I didn't want to go battling with him door to door. And like, this track just is, even the slightest issue is just a nightmare. So I had a terrible week last week, and spun it in the first lap. So more than anything, this week was all about just being super cautious and just getting to the end. I had an extra lap of fuel in the tank just in case that happened. I had just tuned into the live broadcast to hear Chris talking about how he was just chilling, and this is the first time he's ever raced this track. And for the rest of us, that is deeply insulting. But I'm glad this is now under my belt. I think I can actually get after an attack next week.
Well, yeah, you got to give Chris props. He is such a talented driver, but not to take anything away from you, because honestly, pulling off that many laps at this track with so few incident points and just making it to the finish. Now, there was no pit stop in this race, which is unusual for this league. Did that change your thought about how you were going to attack this race, or did you just think of it as the last half of a race?
The only thing I changed was obsessively sitting in the pits before the race and sort of going up to 4 laps of fuel and then up to 5 laps and thinking, no, I want to get after and do 4 and then back up to 5. So,
is the 6 pound fuel actually going to make that much of a difference over this track?
In the end, maybe that's, I would have been able to stick a little bit closer to Johnny, but realistically, it's not going to be a world of change.
Well, even though it was about 13 seconds at this track, over that many laps, that's less than a second at any other track. So you can feel good. I mean, I've done a ton of laps in real life at this track. I've also done it on iRacing. So honestly, that is a tight race at this track. So you can feel good about your position there. Who do you have to thank for this?
Yeah, I think my mom and dad are probably watching. So I just want to say hey to you guys. Maybe if the Wager family is watching as well. Sorry, Jonathan didn't have the race he was hoping for this week, but I'm sure he'll be back next week.
Well, thank you for your time. Glad to have you here. That was an amazing race. But I'm going to toss it back to Adam, who I believe has our P2 or P3, possibly both together.
Yeah, I think we're going to team interview here real quick. Grab both Andrew Hartman and Mike Broomhead here. And hey, guys, fantastic battle in the back half of that race between you two teammates.
Thanks. Yeah, I guess I'll jump in. Yeah, I was just trying to obviously work with Ben. Well, not work with Ben, work against Ben, trying to get him. He was super fast today. I didn't think I had the pace for Andrew, but I saw him picking one off at a time, and I just thought as a team we need to get to the end there. So we were in communication, and we managed to get to the end in second and third. Unfortunately, it's the other way around, but good for Andrew that way.
Yeah, I want to thank Mike for making it a nice, clean fight. Obviously, I was able to capitalize at the end just based on the draft, and that's kind of a feature of this track, being able to sort of make the last lap and final moves. But yeah, thanks to Mike for making it not too difficult. But it was an awesome battle that we've been wanting to have for a while. So this was great.
Yeah, and thinking about that too. I mean, you were sitting there, both you guys going. You had Benjamin back there. You also had Ozzy Milway, who was catching guys right there at the end. His car was looking awfully big in your guys' rearview mirrors at the end, wasn't he?
Yeah. My pace, I guess, was the bottleneck in a way. Everybody had the draft on me, so I was trying to get away, but I made a few mistakes in the last few laps there. But we managed to get a little bit of a gap towards the end and separate ourselves, and Ben and Ozzy had a little fight towards the end there. But yeah, clean driving for everybody. That was a lot of fun.
All right. Well, hey guys, real quick, who would you both like to thank real quick?
Well, I'd also like to start off with an apology. I hit a GT4 car on the beginning of lap 2, and I actually don't know who that was, but I just want to apologize to them. That was a dumb move by me, and it set both of us back, so I certainly don't want to do that again, so I apologize to them. Also like to thank Mike for setting up an awesome team, the Team Britannia. We've been working well together so far this season and hope to keep it going. And also for Tyler and Harlan, the two guys missing from our team this week. They chose that Cuba was more important than racing, so hope to see them back.
Yeah, and obviously I'd like to thank you guys as well. You guys put on a great show, and looking forward to watching that one. That one was a good one. But also sponsors Mountain Range Marketing, lisaslight.com, Walden International School, and our families as well. We sat together at Andrew's house recently, and it was a good chat. Nice people. So thanks to everybody for watching.
All right, gentlemen. Well, hey, good drive today. And, I hate to cut this short, but we got to get on to Sebring here for the next race. And we'll hopefully be talking to you guys next week at Zandvoort.
Thank you. See you then.
Cheers.
All right. And speaking of which, we got to move right on into Sebring here for today. And Sebring, definitely one of those places that definitely has a lot of legacy behind it. Let's go to today's track guide.
Welcome to Sebring International Raceway. Home to the 12 Hours of Sebring, one of the most grueling tests in endurance racing, this is a track which has earned a fearsome reputation among drivers. The circuit itself is located on the southeastern edge of the city of Sebring, Florida, and was built out of Hendricks Army Airfield shortly after World War II. 3 layouts are currently in use, ranging from 1.7 to 3.7 miles in length. The longest course, which is perhaps the most well-known with it being the one used for the famed endurance race, shockingly still contains portions of the original airfield surface. It's this aspect which has become a signature feature of the track, making it extremely bumpy for racing. Sunset Bend in particular nearly shakes cars apart while they attempt to navigate the high-speed 180-degree corner. As you'd expect for the side of an airfield, there's nearly no elevation change over the course of a lap, but many of the curves are dramatically tall and unforgiving, daring drivers to glance them yet not hit them directly. Thankfully, places to pass are plentiful, including spots like the Hairpin and Cunningham. However, the many fast, sweeping turns creates a dilemma for car setup, since a vehicle that's made too stiff could wind up bottoming out on the onerous bumps. In the end, if you have the wherewithal to withstand the track's rough nature, you're likely to fare well. And since Florida fans almost always show up in huge numbers to witness this test of car and driver, you'll have plenty to impress at this legendary North American road course.
All right, so with Nürburgring, hey, always presents special challenges when anybody races at the Nürburgring. Tonight, it's, well, getting to Sebring just a little bit late as that Florida sun is beginning to set on the speedway, and qualifying also beginning to wrap up. Is looking at car number 8, believe that's Tony Costello on your screen, as he's going to go and back out as qualifying does in fact come to an end. Let's take a look at see what all we missed in the qualifying effort here for tonight. On pole for your LMP2s is going to be Paulo Munoz. We're coming in the outside of the second row is going to be Mauricio Guerrero. Row 2 is David Holland, Graham Sanders in 4th. Row 3 is going to go Christian Eisler, Karl Modoff in 6th. Maurice Velakis in 7th position. Rodrigo Mies is going to be sharing row 4 with him. Row 5 is going to go Juan Jose Marinelli, and Horatio Calquin is going to be in 10th position.
Lots of names we're used to seeing there from the Porsche series working here. But in P11 on row 6, we've got Francisco Montini with Miguel Vigo, Tiency Layton and Dave Menino is in P14. Ryan Scalani is bringing in row 8 along with Kristen Radetz. Ignacio Rodriguez and Lance Loomis on row 9. Row 10 in P19 is Daniel Ferguson with Matt Hilton in P20. Looks like we'll finish out here. 21st position is going to be another one of those names we know from the Porsche series, Felipe Riquelme, along with Curlin Andrew in 22nd position.
All right, row 1, starting off with your GT3s, Carlos Villa. Ted Lewandek is going to be in row 1. Row 2 is Vincent Trappier. Kevin Norris is going to be in 4th position. Jerome Bartholomew in 5th. Alongside him be John Mark Tremblay. Those are two guys that have started beside each other in plenty of race series here in the PRL. Arnaud Geneste in 7th. J.R. Williams in 8th. Tony Brisson is going to be on the inside of row 5. Outside of him will be Rafael Russo.
And looking at row number 6 in P11 is Alexandra Breton, along with Sebastian Marier, Tony Costello in P13, David Van Roy is 14th, Christopher Rhines in 15th, Marc-Andre Desjardins in 16th, and looks like Raphael Eckard with no time. We'll see if he takes the grid.
Okay, so let's get to the driver standings real quick, as these guys are going to roll off for a full pace lap. It is a rolling start here in the LMP2s and GT3s. Your LMP2 driver standings, as we mentioned before, if you were joining us just a little while ago for the GT4s and TCRs, it's after race 1. So these really reflect those race 1 results. Paulo Munoz in 37 points. He's leading the way. Marcio Guerrero, Miguel Vigo, 5 and 7 points behind. Holland and Calquin are 9 and 10 points behind in your rounding out your top 5 there. In your GT3 driver standings, looks like this. Carlos Villa, 37 points. He's 3 points up on Trepanier and 6 points up on Ted Lewandek. Kevin Norris in 4th and Raphael Eckard in 10th. And Michael's going to have the team standings.
Taking a look at our team standings, we've got Pure Sims Esports with 69 points. Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing 16 points back. Names we're used to seeing: Punto CL Racing Blue 22 points back from their Precision Racing Esports in 4th, and Punto CL Racing Black is 31 points back. Taking a look at the GT3s for the team standings: ASR Esports Purple with 62 points. SRTE Blue 17 points back from them. ASR Esports Cyan 18 points back. That's going to be a tight battle to watch today. Alpine Stars Geodesic Racing 25 points back, and 5th is going to be Vector by RSR 31 points back.
All right, taking a look at your race details here for today. If you just joined us for the TCR GT4 race, well, that was a 35-minute race today. 45-minute race for the LMP2s and GT3 cars. Still open setup, still a drive-through penalty at 13, disqualification at 17. Not going to be as much of a factor as what we just saw there at the Nürburgring, but you also get a bonus point for the fastest lap, pole, or 3 incidents or less. And really, Sebring is a place where, yeah, even for as bumpy, as tight as it can be, this is a place where you do have a pretty good chance of getting that bonus point for 3 incidents or less here. I mean, it's a complete 180 going from Nürburgring, which is twisty and hilly and everything else, to this flat track here at Sebring, Michael.
Yeah, this one's pretty permissive. There are a few spots where you can catch yourself out, especially coming like up into Cunningham. It is pretty easy to outbrake yourself, or if you're trying to go door to door with somebody, that's a common place to see it. Maybe also Tower. The exit of Tower is one of the places where I swear I've collected more points at that corner on this track than any in iRacing. So yeah, coming out there, and right here as we come out of Le Mans heading down the Ullman Straight, that's another one of those sections, especially if you're going super hard against somebody that you could end up with a point because you get out onto that curbing outside. Now also got to remember just how bumpy turn 17 is. So there are some spots, but if you really mind your P's and Q's, you're going to be okay. But you know, it's easy to pick them up in probably 3, maybe 4 locations around this track.
And of course, turn 17, the famous Sunset Bend, and that has chewed up and spit out many race cars over the years between the bumps and everything else. And, well, these guys have to navigate that here. Coming to the green flag, the pace car is going to pull off, waiting for them to get onto the loud hammer as the green flag getting ready to come out. Paulo Munoz gets on a hammer. He is away. Green flag is out. We are away with the LMP2 field. Let's see how well they get through turn 1 here. Diving into turn 1 as the sun is setting across the South Florida sky, and looks like for the most part a few cars run wide, but I think just about everybody is gonna get through. A few bumps I'm hearing going through turns 3, 4, and 5, but I think for the most part everybody is getting away. Over to the GT3s.
Looks like Carlos Vila is going to make a good run again. We're used to seeing him do this in that AMG machine, just kind of opening it up. Everybody getting into that nice single file. It's kind of the nice part about being in that second class, especially when that green flag drops. You're already managed. You've already managed into your positions, so it's not too much of a big deal trying to go 5 wide into turn 1, where the entrance you can do that, but the exit of turn 1, maybe you can fit 3 if you're lucky.
And still seeing the guys in the LMP2 class trying to sort themselves out as we're looking at Hollum and Graham Sanders here. Graham Sanders still trying to fight and get back there. Oh, as it looks like David Holla gets back in a little loose as he grabs a little dirt. Now having to jump over a curb as he lets his teammate Karl Modoff get by. Not a very good start to the race for David Holla, dropping from 3rd all the way back to it looks like maybe 5th or 6th.
Yeah, falling back just a little bit, but honestly, we've got 45 minutes into this race. Holland is down 2 positions. In front of him, Modoff is up 2 positions with Sanders up 1. This is still first lap of this race. It's not that far into it. We got 26 probably going to work out here with about 43 minutes left.
Well, and seeing a couple of these guys already. I see one car into the wall. That was Horatio Calquin from 10th position.
That's going to mess up the bottom of his car, I think. Trying to ride the wall like that. That's a new way to get into the pits. He didn't make it all the way there, and honestly, that's quite surprising from a driver with the skill that Horatio Calquin has. But let's take a look here as we watch our GT3 class come through, all nice and aligned. I think we're going to start seeing some moves, though, if you watch towards the back of that screen. But looks like Vila's just going to work his way through there, and gets a little more of the grass than he should as we watch one of the Lambos take off towards that wall. That would be Kevin Norris.
Kevin Norris getting that back end loose. It slides into the Armco barrier there. He's going to have a bent up left front. Looks like everything is straight other than the body work, so he'll be able to get on and see what he's able to do here over the course of the next 42 minutes. And also going back to Horatio Calquin, in his defense, that looked like a little bit of netcode contact there. It got him loose and around, and that's what began his journey of trying to climb the pit wall. But thankfully, since then, everybody here in both classes, despite those two incidents, really looks like they're straight so far.
Yeah, everybody looking reasonably okay. Everyone behaving themselves generally. A little bit of self-spins, a little bit of maybe little tiny rub door to door, nothing too overly aggressive. Everybody really trying to settle themselves into the groove. As we take a look back towards the front of the field in the LMP2s, a little look at a pass, but not quite time for it yet. Right here, though, we're watching this little group trying to set themselves up. We are looking for a pass into turn one, I think, at least if it doesn't get blocked out, as Paulo Munoz pulls out the fastest lap of the race so far with a 45.762.
Yeah, these LMP2s should get faster as their run goes along, and I do mention their run. Unlike the Nürburgring, which we just got done running at, we will see a pit stop here for today. They don't do that in the Nürburgring because of the length of the track. Here, we will see a pit stop in both GT3 and LMP2 vehicles later on, probably about halfway through this race or so.
Yeah, these guys are going to have to work their way around and get into that pit. Now, we see a lot of strategy unfold in the pit as we come down into the braking zone for the hotel, into that corner. That's a tight corner and really close under braking there. But the nice thing with these LMP2s, you've got a lot of possibility with that brake pedal. You can have so much control there. As we watch coming down into Cunningham, just get a tiny bit of curb there. You don't want to hit that curb too heavy. Working through Collier, getting our way around towards the tower turn. All these guys pretty much staying in line. They know there's something to be had here, but they're gonna wait for the proper time to do it. There's no reason to do it now. We've still got 40 minutes left in this race. If they were to do it now, it could set themselves up to be in a bad position later.
That's right, and all about biding your time here at this point, just trying to survive here at Sebring. And you mentioned the pit strategy, and we go back to our the GT3s. It was the GT3s where I really saw a lot of pit strategy last week. I might have been sick, Michael, but I was still watching, and that's where Carlos Vila was really able to separate himself out and come away with that race win with a little bit of tire strategy.
Yeah, and I think he was afraid last week that he had short fueled himself. If I recall correctly from the interview, but turns out he did just right. He may have crossed with maybe a tenth or two in the tank, although I think he said he might have had 3/4 of a lap left, so maybe 4 or 5 tenths. So he fueled just right and was able to make his pit strategy just right on the money when it came to fuel. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how he plays it this time. Was he being a little bit too out on the edge last time and gonna maybe take on a little bit more fuel, give himself a full extra lap, or is he going to sit back and have that was that, I think that was Riquelme who went around there waiting on one of the other LMP2 cars, and we got another one around.
So all of a sudden some action here in the LMP2s.
I think that was Ferguson.
Yeah, I believe that was Ferguson there, spinning out of 14th position. Hey, I don't think it's anything we need to go take a look at. A little bit of contact between him and the 19 vehicle.
Looks like Trepanier, I think. If we take a look back at Trepanier in the GT3s, he's starting to close it up here. He's getting quite close. Yeah, look as we're coming through the corners here, trying to get right up under that rear wing. He's going to try to make a pass going down into the hairpin, I think, as we come under the bridge, down the straightaway. He's not quite close enough, though. Heading towards the mobile bridge, he needs to be within about a car length between them. I think he's just a little bit too far back as we watch him go down into the braking zone. Does close it up nicely in that Lamborghini.
It's like the same as last week. I mean, here in the beginning of stages of the race, you really have your top three trying to break away just a little bit, although the faces have changed here in this scenario for today with Villa, Lowendick, and Trepanier as they continue to run 1, 2, 3 in your GT3. So that is a Mercedes, an Audi, and a Lambo. So 3 car manufacturers represented right there.
Yeah, but also remember, VW Group owns Audi and Lamborghini, and underneath those cars are remarkably similar. And I've actually seen real life trading of parts where an Audi team or a Lambo team will share or sell a part to the other guy, because they really do run the same stuff. Oh, is this a slow mover? We have a slow mover. This is the 666. He is not moving. That's how Horatio Calquin looks like he may be. Yep, he is stopped. Something has gone on with him. We're going to have to take a look and see what happened there. But let's get back to G3.
As I mentioned, Sunset likes to chew up and spit out cars, and Sunset got him. He got into the tire barriers, immediately dived into pit road, and looks like he's going to call it a day. Oh, an LP2 battle here, going side by side through the S's.
Oh, that's a nice little push right now, and I believe those are going to be teammates, or at least different colors of the same team trying to run up on each other. I don't think they're trying to pull away. I think they're actually trying to battle here. They're ready to start going at it.
Yeah, it's Marinelli and Velakis as they continue to go at it here in the 05 and the 23. Battling right now for 10th and 9th position, trying to hang on to spots in the top 10, as Velakis here is going to be able to make a move, getting ready to dive down into Sunset. Always a tricky place to go side by side. We've seen that not work numerous times, both at sim racing and in real life. This time, though, they get single file before they go through there. For as wide of a corner as Sunset is, yes, it is possible to go side by side through there, but many people have trouble with the bumps.
Yeah, Valiokis didn't have too much trouble there. He was far enough ahead as they entered the corner, got into that braking zone. Oh, and it looks like, oh no, Valiokis was able to make it through, but looks like Marinelli just got a little bit too much grass on the exit there. Maybe got some wing wash that he wasn't quite used to on those previous laps.
Yeah, Marinelli just goes way outside, and looks like we got a Lambo off here.
That's Marrier?
I didn't see who that was before it went away. Yeah, it looks like it was indeed Marrier. Contact possibly between him and Rafael Russo.
Oh, and Brayton may have crashed. What is going on with Brayton right now? I just saw something come up, flash across my screen. But let's take a look back. Yeah, there he goes. He's a little bit off the grass. They're not a good place to be running, but back in 15th, he still has time to work his way back up to the front. Oh, but no, look, I'm thinking he might have some damage. He's staying off the track. He's trying to stay out of everyone's way and just do the right thing and run through the grass and the off-track portions and not get into anyone else's race. He's going to have to be very careful right here, though, as he works his way into the Le Mans corner to head up Ullman Straight. He's probably going to tuck over to the right side. Yeah, he's missing a lot of body work there. Definitely missing the hood on that car.
The bonnet.
The bonnet.
Yeah, that's what you'd call it on a Lambo. I think he's just doing that, especially
or a frunk.
Yeah, I think he's doing that, especially knowing that it's the GT3s, especially that he's buying. I want to give a shout out here real quick to the back end of the the LMP2 field with Christian Raditz and Ryan Scalani. These two have been going at it here this entire lap, and they went through a good chunk of the last part of it side by side. As of course I'm going to call it out, then they're going to start to separate out just a little bit. But Raditz and Scalani having a pretty good battle.
They are, and there's something really interesting about the iRacing version of this track. When you're coming out of Sunset Bend, turn 17, and I always make the joke, they call it turn 17 because there's 17 ways to go through it, but there's also some grass out there. In real life, that grass is not there. Maybe when they scanned the track, it was there, but it is absolutely paved now because I've been there recently, so I know it is definitely still paved out there. They didn't suddenly plant grass, so it's really odd to go from the real life to coming back to iRacing and there's grass there, because I like to use that section.
Basically, what you're saying is you like to 1x your way through there.
Yeah, sure. Because we don't this is in real racing.
It's like whenever we go to Coda or anything else, it's like, sitting there watching races there. And me and my friends were always like 1x, 1x, 1x. Just tight track limits. All right, that's besides the point. Looking at right now, once again, it seems like here for this race, the battle, at least here early on the track, is going to probably be the technically slower class of the GT3s. Villa, Lawanik, and Trapanier still able to throw a blanket on them, essentially running 1, 2, 3 right now with those GT3 cars.
Yeah, those guys doing a nice job to pull away from the rest of the field. I think we're going to start seeing a battle form with them after we get through the pit stop rotation. I think somebody's going to try to get like down to the 10th of how much fuel they need. They've really been calculating things out, or maybe they even have a spotter who's calculating for them as they go along. There's some cool software out there where you can do some real-time calculations through a web page and see exactly to the 100th, or at least the 10th, probably the 100th, how much fuel everyone's using or how much your person is using, and know exactly how much fuel you need to put in there so you're not wasting a good 5 or 6 pounds of fuel.
You know, and this would be a good chance here to give a shout out to Manuel Vigo in the 62 car. You know, as they're beginning to cut their way through. Oh, and as we go to him, and we're getting a big incident here. See what happened. I was just going to call him out. He's the biggest mover on the track so far. It looks like he got in the back of David Holland and jams up both the LMP2s and the GT3s as the LMP2s were cutting their way through the field. That's going to cost a lot of time for those guys. That might be one that might be worthy to go back on the Gsrc replay machine real quick if we're able to take a look at that. And you know, Vigo was the furthest mover out of everybody on track here so far, coming up 6 spots, and shame it had to end like that.
Yeah, that's really frustrating. You don't necessarily get a good qualifying. That's what I call doing a me. You don't qualify well, but you race well and you work your way through. So I typically qualify pretty far down, like 5th, 4th, maybe 6th, but I'll work my way up to the podium. And you've worked through the race that hard, making those passes and getting your way up there. It's really frustrating when something silly like that happens that could have been avoided, usually netcode in the case of iRacing.
Yeah, I'm watching the leaders now, Graham Sanders and Carl Modov trying to cut through some of this GT3 traffic as they get around Jean-Marc Tremblay and finally starting to break into the top 3. That's one thing that might actually separate this top 3 a little bit here. It was this LMP2 traffic is now Mauricio Cuero trying to get around Carlos Villa. It looks like they're going to get away with it. Here at the moment, I know it looks like they're closer together, but as the entire LMP2 field comes through, they might separate them out a little bit.
Yeah, being able to manage traffic is a big part of multi-class racing, and it's one of my favorite parts. I don't care if I'm in the faster class or the lower class or the middle class, if they're 3 or 4. I just enjoy using the traffic around me and really trying to excel to make up for maybe a deficiency. I might not be good at a certain corner. I can use that to my advantage depending on how the other classes work around me. So you get a little bit of chatter coming in the back over the radio with one class reminding, hey guys, we're racing 2 back here, so don't get in our way, don't mess up our race. We've got a race going on just like you do, so yours isn't any more important than ours. And you guys will notice we're covering the GT3s just as much as we are the LMP2s, because both have amazing races going on.
They do here, especially here right now, and I would say that's a normal complaint that you hear amongst drivers, whether or not it's an actual complaint or not, or a perceived complaint. That's a matter up for discussion. But it's looking like an LMP2 back there taking a trip a little bit through the grass. But you can see how well those classes are mixing in. Those LMP2s, there's the speed difference between the GT3 and the LMP2 machines as we're riding on board. And iRacer lean going on right there, making its way through Sunset.
Yeah, this will be the 312 car. That's going to be Genet. Looking pretty good. Watching traffic, you can see his eyes darting around just a bit as he leans into turn 1, gets that car right up onto that wall. Looks like he's closing in a little bit. I think he might be trying to set himself up for a pass as we get down towards the hotel there.
Sit here and I look at all these guys' cameras and all their nice room setups, and I'm in a garage. So it won't be for long. But right now, that's where I'm at. As you know, of course, one of the PRL stewards that judges incidents and everything else, does a great job of that out there. And as Carlos Villa continues to have to try to deal with the slap traffic and being careful with Lewandek and Trapanier not to lose touch, but as expected, they're kind of starting to separate out just a touch. If anything, Villa has not been able to lose Lewandek, but Trapanier is having trouble keeping up on the back end of those two.
Yeah, a little bit of that has been traffic and just some very unfortunate timing for him trying to get through. But was that Vigo that we just watched there? May have gone off. Yeah, driving slowly, trying to get back into this race. I believe that is Vigo indeed.
Well, it's been a while since we checked in on our LMP2 leader. Let's go up to Paulo Munoz, and he's finally cut through all that GT3 traffic. Only probably have to start dealing with it again here in a couple of laps, but they are really, I mean, he's really setting sail now. Now that he's clear of traffic, going back to setting purple times, fastest laps on the racetrack, and really setting pace right now. Going up to third and fourth, this is going to be Graham Sanders and Carlo Modov. So a fight here, get on the podium for Modov.
Yeah, Modov wants to be up there. Sanders is kind of in his way, about 5/10 of a second off of him. But remember, we still got about 27, 26 minutes left in this race. He's got time to make a move, but this is close enough that he could make this pass through the pit rotation. However, don't take anything away from Sanders. Sanders is putting down some pretty good laps here himself, really running good times, and currently his predictive lap time is still a 10th up on him. Oh, and we got another spinner in the GT3 class. Looks like, I didn't see who that was. Maybe Williams, and he's going to try to head back to the pits.
Yeah, it looked like his car was a little beat up there too. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. But you know, with the way the LMP2 race is going on here, you know, Munoz and Cuero, I mean, 1-2. They were 1-2 last week as well. Third, fourth, and fifth in the standings really stands to get shaken up here today if things were to end right now.
Yeah, so seeing Mies did not have a good race last week. We're used to seeing Mies towards the front of this pack. He's in fifth right now. He could work his way back up, but yeah, like you're saying, third, fourth, and fifth, I think it's kind of anybody's game. Mies may be 4 seconds off the tail of Modov, but honestly, if I'm out there racing and I see Mies in my mirrors, I just kind of block out my mirrors because that guy's fast. He's going to catch up for sure.
And I think it might be worth to go back and take a look, if we can, at the as Graham Sanders sets the fastest lap real quick at the J.R. Williams incident, just because, you know, first time today we've seen actually somebody lose it into turn one. Now, granted, this is all by himself, but he smashes hard into the tire barrier here.
Yeah, coming through here a little bit hot. Looked like an odd, maybe trying to catch a little bit of a rear end thing going on. We'd almost need to see a slow motion of that as we watch him come around again. Just all of a sudden the car snaps as he comes through here. Watch that rear end just started to wiggle. A little bit of overcorrection and sudden oversteer. That's just heartbreaking because you feel it start to kick out. You could see that rear end just start to move, and his timing was good to catch it, but I think it may have been a little bit too much wheel and maybe a little foot action in there as well.
In old school NASCAR, that would have been called the hospital wobble, where it just kind of breaks on you right there and just throws you into a wall. And yeah, thankfully, though, we're here in a simulation. And even if we weren't, that was a tire wall. And I think I remember seeing a Corvette going into that tire wall just a few years ago. So thankfully, no real equipment was hurt and no real drivers were injured either. So we're all right there. All right, back to racing out there as this Sanders and Modov battle continues to wage on. You know, and really they're fighting here, but they're also still setting some really good lap times. And you got to think with Paulo Munoz and Mauricio Cuero up there, they got to be thinking about them and maybe trying to increase their pace a little bit, because Sanders and Modov could very well catch them here. Might be on the back end of the pit stop, but they're making time.
Yeah, and with Sanders pulling that fastest lap the last time around, that was a 1:45.460. Sorry, 1:44.883 was his fastest lap that he was able to pull out there. These guys are really starting to push through here, and Modov, he's happy to hang back here for now, as long as they are not too far off of each other's pace, that they're not significantly faster in one section over the other. It behooves them to work together. You can still see Cuero right there in the screen as a little bit of a move that may have been trying to catch a little bit of drag, maybe trying to say, hey, I want to get out in front and play for a while too. These guys are getting really close, though. We might see a pass coming up here. This is a good opportunity as he comes down in there. We've got some defense, but no, looks to the right side, coming into Cunningham, makes the pass, gets around him, down onto the throttle, going through the next corner, trying to set up for Tower. Nope, not going to happen. Looks like we have this pass done, and we have a change of position. Modov up into P3.
it only costs them just a little bit of time to make that move. So now we'll see if this twosome here is better with Modolf out in front, although I have a feeling here going down into sunset in a few minutes that might swap hands once again. But that all goes working together. Leapfrogging is a legitimate drafting strategy at a place like this when you're really trying to get every edge you can.
Yeah, but Modolf, I think, has a little better control of the car. He had a nice control of the drift going into Le Mans. Down the Ullman Straight, though, looks like Sanders picks up a little bit of time. His exit of Le Mans was not quite as good as they go bounding through turn 17, trying to work their way towards the start-finish. These cars are ready to make up some time. Quero sitting out in P2, only about 3.6 seconds out in front of him. It's time to close him down. They really want to catch him at this point.
Hey, let's go back to the GT3s here for just a little bit. As Carlos Villa has Ted Lowendick right back behind him, as that's starting to become a battle again. Trepagne's ended up being just a little bit further back as now we take a look at Ted Lowendick. And this could be a one that it's going to be very interesting when they do come in for pit stops to see if we see any kind of different strategy, who takes what tires, and see what we do out there today.
So what does Teddy have there? Did he find the gator strips? Are those gator strips he has in his little jar right there? I can't quite read it. But,
well, I mean, he had Cheez-Its last week, so...
Yeah, because we were joking with him, what are you going to do for this week? And I think that might be gator tail. Yeah, that looks like an alligator on there, and he did promise the shoey. If he makes it, he promised the shoey, so we're looking for the shoey. Got to stay there. Come on, Teddy, you can do it.
We need that. We need that out there. Oh, I get it. Cheez-Its because they were in Wisconsin last weekend for Road America.
That's right.
All right. Hey, also, don't want to completely ignore this other battle we got going on in the GT3s as well with Arnaud Genest and Jerome Bartholomew. Is Jerome here taking a peek? Although Genest definitely has the defensive line right there.
Yeah, Genest doing a good job holding him off, but I don't know if that's going to work to their disadvantage. It looks like Trepagny is kind of checking out from him. Maybe Trepagny is still 6.5 seconds up from Genest, and but I mean, Bartiom is right there, 0.3 off of his tail. That is close. This is a setup. This is an absolute setup right here. He is going to try to make the pass we just saw going down into Cunningham. I think he's going to try the same thing, but I'm not sure he got off that corner well enough. He's trying and not quite there, a little bit too far back.
Yeah, just not enough distance, but they also might be playing to the pit stop here at this point. Hey, next time Ted is going down the backstretch, the Ullman Straight, I want to go ahead and ride on board with him in the cockpit view and see. We're hearing a report that he might actually be blinded by the sun right now. The sun might be at just the right angle to have given him a hard time to see. So that might be something interesting to see from his perspective.
That's not too bad.
And I'll tell you, though, from my experience in the MX-5s the other night, is that that sun, especially on the uphill, was blinding. And I think with his graphics settings, Carlos Villa is going to go ahead and make those pit stop right there. You see that? So he's going to briefly take over the lead. But that could be a real challenge when you go through sunset, having to deal with the sunset.
Yeah, could be, but yeah, Villa going into the pits there. Teddy taken out to the front. Now it's time for Teddy to really put the hammer down. I don't know if he's got much for Carlos. Carlos is just fast, and he's really gotten a really good help from iRacing a little bit on the latest BOP. Has made that AMG just a little bit faster than it was. They did slow it down a lot. It was one of my favorite cars to drive, but he got slowed down quite a bit there. The car got slowed down quite a bit, but they've given some of that speed back, which I think is probably going to get a BOP adjustment again in a couple of weeks here.
Is the GT3 pit exit right now was just insane with Bartholomew, Genest, Tremblay all coming out right together. And Caven Norris looks like he's having another off, but most of the GT3 field did come in that lap. I expect the rest to come in here in just a moment and see how that cycles through for those guys. But Carlos Villa had a good stop. Looking at Vincent Tremblay right now and see how well he's able to do.
Wasn't the quickest stop. He was still at 16 seconds. Trepanier's stop was 16.7, but looks like Villa was still a full second faster than Trepanier was through the whole pit rotation from cone to cone. So we should see what Teddy does. I would expect Teddy to probably be taking a look at the pit this lap around, although sitting back where he was probably saving a bit of fuel. So hopefully he can take on a little bit less. As we watch right now as he's coming around that final corner, does take the dive into the pits, heavy onto the brakes, just getting it down to speed right before those cones.
And I will say I do have the graphic settings to really see that sun shining in your eyes, and yeah, that's going to be a real problem for a lot of these guys going down the back straightaway here right now. So that's going to be interesting, especially we end up some side-by-side battles here after the pit stops, because this race quickly starting to come to a close, approaching the 16-minute mark. Lawendick right now on pit road and seeing pulling away. You got the pit stop times up. Let me know how that looks when you get a chance there, Michael.
It looks like Teddy was able to make a 14-second stop. That could put him right up next to, because that's him right there. If you take a look just at the end of pit road, looks like Carlos is coming out, and Carlos is going to be behind him. Teddy has made the pass in the pits. He has made a pass in the pits, 2 seconds faster in the pit lane. Now let's see if he can hold on to that, if he got enough fuel.
Carlos still can see Ted though, so that's gonna be interesting as the sun really starts to affect Ted again here. There's gonna be a couple places. You know what? I like this effect though, as far as how far iRacing has come. You go back 3, 4, 5 years ago, that wouldn't have been a thing, but it's getting ever closer to being just a little bit more on the realism side as far as the sun affecting you.
Yeah, that's the HDR setting, if I recall correctly. I was doing an endurance race in iRacing, and I had to turn it off. In real life, I can take my hand and move it up, but when I'm in VR, well, putting my hand up there looks kind of silly.
It does.
It does absolutely nothing and looks really silly, but you know, you feel like you want to, or you can dip your head down and let the front edge. We put an extra little stripe on the top of the plastic that goes across there, just to give us that little break from the sun. As we watch our first pit stops, it looks like that was Rodrigo Mies, or was that Sanders? It may have been both. Looks like Valiocas has also gone into the pits. We're going to start seeing a lot more of these LMP2s start to make their pit rotation.
And that'll be interesting now to see, especially with our front runners in the LMP2s. You know, Paulo Munoz didn't have an insane gap, and in fact, Mauricio Cuero has caught him, is now under a second to him the last time around. So pit stops are going to be very, very key again here in the LMP2 class.
Yeah, these guys teammates, remember, so they're not going to battle too hard, but they do want to win. And it was interesting, even though they're teammates. I recall last week talking to these guys and asking them about, what was going on. And I believe it was Mauricio said, yeah, we're running completely different setups. He was running high downforce, I was running low, or maybe it was the other way around. And they were just faster at different sections of the track. So while they're teammates, there is still a desire to be the teammate in the lead. So while right now they still look like they're being nice, I expect things to change, especially right now that they are only about a second apart from each other. Is that Modoff in the background?
That is Modoff in the background. He is starting to gain on him. He's gained about 2 seconds on him here the last little bit. So Modoff making his presence known. And don't forget, I mean, we still are going to have, I believe it was Marinelli that's going to get back out there too once everything starts to cycle through. So it's the LMP2 race is far from over, as watching these guys come down pit road. Teammates, of course, pitting together. I think a story's getting ready to get told here in just a few seconds.
Yeah, and Modoff had a little bit better pit entry. He was coming in a little bit hotter. He had a little bit higher arc or wider arc coming in there. I think he may have made up another half a tenth or so. Now it's really going to come down to fuel as we're watching these guys. 13.8 seconds for Munoz, 13.8 also for his teammate Mauricio right behind him. Looks like Modov is finally done 13.4, a little bit quicker overall time still, though. We had 37.4 for Munoz, but 36.7 for his teammate Quero, but Modov also at 37.2. So trying to make up a little bit of time, got a tiny bit, but not quite enough to make a big impact on this race.
Yeah, and forgive me, it wasn't Marinelli, it was Graham Sanders. And going back to Modov and Graham Sanders, you could see the big difference between Sanders and Modov, even though they came in. They were pretty close before the pit stops. Modov now very much ahead of Graham. Graham needs to start kicking off some of those purple laps like he was doing earlier on in the race and see if he's able to get caught back up there. But Quero and Muniz, with the great stops, great pit entry, great pit exit, they were actually able to put, looks like at least a little bit of ground. No, maybe not. Maybe they reversed. Maybe Modov a couple tenths to the good, do you think, there?
Yeah, I think Modov a couple of tenths to the good on Munoz, but not on Quero. Quero actually closed up a good bit. He's still sitting about 5 tenths off of his teammate. He was about 7 tenths or so when they went in.
Yeah, I was talking about between Modov and Quero there, with Modov being a couple tenths good.
Yeah. Definitely, he was a little bit quicker in his box time stopped, but it looks like Quero was a little bit quicker from cone to cone. So somehow making it up. I thought honestly Modov had a better entry. It may have been on the pull away from the pit stall. Watching these guys here working their way around Sunset, getting to where the grass isn't supposed to be, but is, and still holding on to their positions. Down to a 4 tenths, down to 3 tenths as they get into turn 1. Closing up tight.
Happened to Carlos Villa.
Oh,
in the
where's
GT3s. He has just dropped several positions.
Looks like Villa may have crashed. He is way back. That may have been something going along with some of those LMP through.
Yeah, looks like I think he had a little bit of netcode contact between him and Marinelli.
Or, yeah, it looks like they're trying to negotiate side by side, and I think it was hard to tell from that angle, but could have been a little bit of contact. Should not have caused that much. That is one of the frustrating parts about iRacing. You just have to learn it's different. They get as close as they can, and they do an absolutely brilliant job to calculate what's going on for all these cars all the time. And every once in a while, it gets just a little bit off. As we watch these guys going through turn 1 here, that is going to be, yeah, I think that was our former leader trying to keep up inside, making a pass, getting around. Nice move.
And keep in mind, he is fighting at this point here to get back to at least a podium spot. And a podium spot right now being held by Rafael Russo, who's in the Porsche that's in front of this pack. So you got a 4-way battle right now for 3rd in your GT3 class.
Yeah, we got a, looks like a nose out. Oh, trying to make it up underneath, gets inside the hairpin. A little bit of contact. Looks like 2 are going to get through. Yeah, that puts Vila through as well. And it looks like, oh, a 3rd is coming through. Wow, that's a tough day for Russo. He's let 3 cars get past him on 1 corner.
Yeah, a little bit of contact didn't help that situation, but it did definitely help Carlos Villa in his bid to get back to a podium spot. Now he's got to get through Arnaud Jeunesse. And, you know, one thing you definitely don't want to do is take out a Chief Stewart in any series. So, you know, Carlos Villa is definitely going to be paying extra attention here. They try to get around Arnaud Jeunesse just a little bit on the easier side if he's able to. But because of that, Ted Lundek, I really think we might get our shoey here today.
Yeah, Ted, you need to get that shoe untied and ready to go for us, buddy. I think you're going to be drinking from it. It's looking good. Not to put the commentator's curse on you. No curse here. But, man, you're holding on to a nice position out there. You've got a 4-second lead over your next closest competitors. That would be Trepanier back there. Trepanier kind of in a race of his own. He's not racing anyone. He's just managing traffic. My thought right now, if I'm Trepanier, I don't need to push too hard to catch up there. I'll take the points for P2. It's a long season. I want to make it to the end. Second place points are nearly as good as first place, especially when it's 4 seconds off with only 8 minutes left in the race. Looks like Villa's up to third, though. Did we miss a pass? I think Villa's got his way around. Oh, and then a repass.
Oh, they're battling right now. Yeah.
Oh, and a little side-by-side contact.
Contact behind him between Russo and Bartholomew.
Oh boy, this is gonna be interesting for the stewards to unpack, because I think Villa did the same thing to Gness that Gness did to the Porsche Russo. So a different corner, but kind of similar side by side. Not too much, didn't knock you off track, but made your position known that, hey, this is mine. But now we're going to watch this Mercedes try to take off. That big power in that car, trying to put the hammer down and pull away from that Lamborghini behind him. The legs on the AMG right now are looking really good. Those things have got so much torque, so much power. Getting down the straightaways in them is kind of really your advantage. But we've got an LMP2 car closing up behind them. Who is that? Which car is that there? That looks like the 4. That's going to be Matt Hilton, trying to not be part of their race. Gets around them okay. Nothing doing. So I think if I'm Vila, if I'm Carlo, I'm thinking, all right, just give me a big hole in the air so I can try to pull away a little bit better. I know I got the legs on this guy, but he's in my draft. I want to be in yours, so help me out a little bit.
And as we approach the closing stages of this one, there are a few isolated battles out there, but this is the only battle right now that is in the top 10 of either the GT3s or LMP2s. So battle on the racetrack for sure is great pace out there as Arnaud Gness and Carlos Villa continue to stay within reach of each other. Although that contact did break up, Bartholomew and Russo just a little bit from that pack, but they're still fighting for themselves here.
Yeah, it's an interesting battle being built. We've got a battle for, looks like, I'm going to say P3, and then a battle for P5. Remember, all the points matter. I mean, it doesn't matter where you get points as long as you get them. They're going to make a difference somewhere, especially when you're looking at things like drop weeks. So you get a week you did in DNF, well, that 5th place finish suddenly works out really well for you because it's better than 0 points. So yeah, every time you have a points paying position, you want to fight for it.
Let's go back up to the lead here for LMP2 just real quick. We'll keep one eye on this battle in case it really gets exciting here in just a moment, but we'll also put the other eye here on our leaders, Munoz and Cuero. And yes, they are teammates, but that lead is starting to stretch out for Munoz, now up to 1.1 seconds. So he's gained about 0.3 of a second as the draft kind of helping him close him up there as they start going into the hairpin. But he's been able to navigate the more technical portions of this track fairly easy, although he is catching lap traffic here.
Yeah, this lap traffic's going to allow Cuero to catch up. And if you remember last week, the race, we watched at the end of the race as Cuero was able to close things up, and he is now under a second. Part of that thanks to lap traffic, but it could be that they are once again running different setups. And, it's sometimes just the timing. As we watch him go through tower here, heads out to the right side to get around that lap GT3 car. But he is holding it close, still at 9/10, right at a second, between 9/10 and 1 second. Just trying to close it up, getting into Jean de Bien, trying to come around, get down the Omen Straight. This is something I think, this is kind of like what happened last week. We watched as Cuero started closing it up at the end of the race. Just kept getting closer and closer, but I think needed maybe 1 or 2 more laps. But at this point, this race is not looking a whole lot different than the one between Gness and Villa. Those guys are looking very similar gap, trying to fight their way around here. As we watch, take a look here. Looks like a little bit of interjection from a few other cars. Oh, this is a tight race. This is going to be fun watching Munoz and Cuero here. We are down to right at 0.6 of a second. Oh, as we get into some lap traffic.
And I know we were watching that battle between Villa and Gness, and Gness is still kind of right there. He hasn't really attacked Villa here just yet, but I'm keeping an eye on that as well as we watch this LMP2 battle here. In fact, we'll actually go take just a quick peek at it. If anything, out of this battle that we've been watching, Bartholomew and Russo have started to catch these guys just a little bit, but it's not going to be enough time, I think, for them to get back up there unless something happens.
Yeah. Now, watching Carl, like Via, so here we're used to him, of course, being in first place from last week, but Carlos, really good, very calculated driver. He's trying to just plan out to the end of the race. We've got under 3 minutes, so that's going to be about 2 more laps for these guys trying to work their way around here. We've got the lights on the cars. Sunset is happening right now, but man, this is going to be tight. If I'm Janest, I'm thinking I got a chance for that final spot on the podium. I just want to stick with him. I don't want to make a move too soon. He needs to time this out. He needs to find out where he can make these passes. He wants to put a nose in there, maybe make a little juke here or there, and just kind of play to see what his options are as we're coming down to the final minutes of this race. He really needs to start to find a place to assert some dominance as these guys are finishing, because I don't think he's going to get him on pace alone. He needs to really stick in that wind tunnel behind him and use that to his advantage. As we got our leaders coming through, we've got our leaders passing our third place. Oh, right up the inside. This is getting close. This is getting really close.
In fact, he's sticking his nose in there, thinks better of it, lifts out just a little bit. Good move by Cuero as they work his way around Carlos Villa, as they're going to be neck and neck here, I think, going down into the hairpin as Munoz decides he wants to take the defensive line, force Cuero off to the outside, but could he do it over-under here? Not quite there just yet. This is not over. I believe the leaders would have taken 2 to go there, so this next time by, we should be getting the white flag for these guys. And this is, you got to feel like if you're Mauricio Cuero that time is now if you want to try to make a move.
The time is definitely now, and he is starting to assert some dominance. He's showing where he's faster, and he's ready to get around. Now, he does still need a little help from his teammate. Paulo's got some advantages in other sections. I think they may be running different setups, but I'm not going to bank on that one because maybe they decided to share this week. But both of these guys really putting on a good show for us as they come around Le Mans, trying to put the hammer down. Let's watch as they work their way down the Ullman Straight. It looks like Cuero's going to close this up. He's down to about a half a second, but we've got a little bit of traffic in front of him. GT3 cars just getting into Sunset Bend as these guys work their way in, just turning into the brake zone.
And those GT3 cars, by the way, are 1-2 in GT3. That's Ted Loenig and Vincent Trappier in front of them.
So it looks like Trapani has closed up quite a bit. He's down to 1.3 seconds off of him as we watch Munoz and Cuero just split those two. Trying to not. Oh, wow. This is getting to be crazy. This is going to be tight. Going through 2, trying to get away. Oh, no. So close.
Not able to make it stick on the outside as you're both your GT3 and LMP2 leaders on your screen right there as the Trepanier, we can't discount the fact that Trepanier has been able to close up to 1.2 seconds off Loenig in just about a lap and a half here. So that's impressive there. We're going to have to watch that battle as both these leaders are going to come across the line pretty close together here in the next couple of seconds as we are on the final lap, white flag lap here at Sebring with Munoz right now doing his best to hold on to the lead from his teammate Mauricio Cuero. Munoz has dominated the entire race here so far in the LMP2 class, and now, right at the end, falling himself under pressure from his teammate Cuero.
Yeah, Cuero really closing up. We're down to 0.3 of a second as we watch him coming out of the tower corner. This is the time to make it happen. There is no time left. This is the last lap. Trying to come around into Gendebien, work his way around those corners. This is where he's been a little bit faster, going through Le Mans, closing it up, getting down to right under 0.3 of a second. Gets a really good run out of Le Mans. We got him shake and bake, trying to get rid of that draft, holding over to the right side, coming up to the final corner.
And right now, it looks like Munoz into Sunset first. Cuero tries to dive in there, tries to get a run off the corner. He's not going to get good enough of a run. Munoz going to be able to take this one home across the start-finish line. 1-2 for the teammates right there. Going back to your GT3 cars as Loenig going to be able, already celebrating. He knows what's coming.
He's got a shoey ready.
All right.
Yeah, time for the shoey. Loving it.
you got to give a lot of credit to Vincent Trepanier for coming across and really closing that up there right at the end. He was only about 3 seconds off, going about 2 or 3 laps from the end there. Made a good run of it, but at the end of the day, Ted Lowendeck going to give us the shoey here in just a little bit. Arnaud Jeunesse is going to come home in 4th. Carlos Villa is able to recover into 3rd position there in your GT3s. LMP2s is also a great race. Just great racing all around out there. I tell you what, we haven't had a break all night. Thanks with Nürburgring and everything else going right into the LMP2s. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back for the results and also driver interviews and a shoey on the way.
Hey there, I'm Nicholas Dubois, co-founder of Advanced SimRacing. We are a Canadian company. So what we did here today is for a real petrol head. He's really passionate about cars, as you can see behind me. We did a turnkey solution for him based on his needs. We try to gather as much information as we can on our client. And like we did today, we install a D-Box system. We install ultra-wide cube control steering wheel. We try to provide the best quality for your budget. So let's say if you want a budget of 10 grand, we're gonna give you something that's the best for 10 grand. If you want 20 grand, then we always try to stay within your boundaries. We do try to make it as easy as possible. So the client, once we install everything, it's pretty much gonna be a turnkey. So he's gonna press start on his computer, and right after, we'll try to explain everything, how it goes, how it works, and then he's ready to go. Our aluminum is from USA, treated in Canada, cut in Canada. So we do sand all our aluminum piece just to make sure the powder coat sticks to it. And that's one of the reasons why we use powder coat, is to make sure you have the best aluminum finish in the industry. And our quality is beyond what you can get with any other competitors right now. We are really, really passionate about all the gear, all the cockpits, all the sim hardware, and that's why we want to create something that's really going to reflect our passion into our product. Come visit us at advancedsimracing.com. You can always reach us if you have any questions. You can call us, you can text us, you can go on Facebook, like our page, ask us questions over there, and we'll make sure to answer every questions there is. We are very passionate about what we do, and we try to make it as easier for you to go into the sim racing world, because there's a lot of gear, there's a lot of options, but let us guide you through your process, and let's hope you'll be an Advanced Sim Racing customer.
What a fantastic night of racing in the PRL multi-class race between the GT4 and TCRs at the Nürburgring, and following this up with a spectacular race in both classes in the GT3s and LMP2s here at Sebring. Here are your LMP2 results. Paulo Munoz coming home with the win over his teammate Marcio Cuero. Carl Modoff in 3rd, and we were just talking there but on the break that Carl Modoff was really coming there at the end too. So great job by the podium. Graham Sanders had himself some real quick laps early on. He comes home in 4th. Rodrigo Mies in 5th. Maurice Vlachis in 6th. Christian Eisler in 7th. David Holland in 8th. Ignacio Rodriguez in 9th. And Tienzi Layton in 10th position. Going over to 11th. Juan Jose Marinelli had himself having a few issues, but he did have a quick car. Dave Manoa in 12th, Ryan Skalny in 13th, Lance Loomis in 14th, 15th, Christian Raditz, Matt Hilton in 16th, Felipe Rakami in 17th, Horatio Calquin, who tried to climb the pit wall earlier on, but he also had a quick car, but definitely not to be here for today. 18th, Francisco Montanani in 19th, 20th goes to Miguel Vigo, who called it quits just a few laps from the end. Daniel Ferguson and Curlin and Andrew round out your LMP2 field. Michael?
All right, looking at our GT3 field, well, I think we got a shoey coming tonight. That's right. Ted Lowendick made it to the front on a brilliant pit strategy. Vincent Trepanier comes in P2. Carlos Vila makes P3. Arnaud Genet in 4th. Jerome Bartiom in P5. Tony Costello, Tommy Brisson, David Vinroy, Christopher Rhines, and Jean-Marc Tremblay round out your top 10. Looking at P11, Marc-Andre Desjardins, Rafael Russo putting up a good battle for a while there, trying to be up in that P3, P4 position. Ends up in 12th. Raphael Eckard works his way up to 13th position from last, was where he started. So good run there. Alexander Breton in 14th. Kevin Norris 15th. J.R. Williams, an incident early on, puts him back in 16th. And Sebastian Merrier in 17th, 22 laps back.
Wow. I'm still trying to catch my breath and get my voice back after that one. Just a great night of racing. And first up, I think I will go ahead and grab Paulo Munoz here. And Michael, you want to talk to Paulo?
So, Paulo, quite a race. You and your teammate put on a beautiful show there at the end. Now, last week, kind of a similar thing going on. You were really making a good run. You had it way out there, and he was closing up at the end. And we asked, are you sharing setups? And he said, no, we were on a very different setup, and it just worked out that we got that close. Were you sharing a setup this week, or were you on your own setup?
Well, first of all, hi guys. No, we were actually running different setups again. I did a bunch of prep for the Sebring 12 hour, which Mauricio didn't run. So I ended up using the setup we used for that. And he just picked one of the 1,000 variations we had. But in the end, I think we had pretty similar pace.
Yeah. Now, the end he was closing up on you. Was that you were kind of letting off a little bit and trying to ensure that you would make it to the end without a crash? Or was it bad luck with traffic? What was going on that allowed him to get as close as he did, right at 0.3 of a second at the end?
So at the end of the first stint, I realized I didn't have enough fuel for the extra lap I wanted to get, so I started fuel saving a bit more. And then I lost a bit of time there. And then I lost a lot of time on traffic. And towards the end, the same thing happened. I just kind of got the worst luck into turn 1 and 2 with traffic. So
yeah, it was leaders on leaders. It was P1, P2 on P1, P2 from the LMP2s and the GT3s. So you really didn't want to make anybody's day go sideways, I'm sure.
No, exactly. And I also noticed Ted was winning, and he's a good friend of mine, so I didn't want to ruin his race either. So I kind of waited and prepared to defend into turn 2, which is exactly what happened.
Were you trying to make sure that that Teddy was going to do the shoey?
Yeah, of course.
He promised he would. Yeah, he promised he would. So that was the whole thing. You really wanted to make sure that's what was going to happen there.
Absolutely. That I want to watch that now.
Well, we do too. So I think what we're going to do is give you a quick chance to thank the appropriate people, and then we're going to look and see if we can get a quick shot on that shoey.
Yeah, of course. Well, I'd like to thank everyone in the Pure Sims team, all the sponsors, Mauricio for the prep this week as well, and you guys for the broadcast as usual.
Well, thank you, of course, because I gotta say you put on a beautiful show. It's thoroughly enjoying to watch you and your teammate race. I as a pro driver actually enjoy watching you guys because you drive as brilliantly as the people I race with. I think you could probably find your way into a seat in a real car watching you what you do here. So keep up the good work, and looking forward to seeing you on the top step, or at least some step of the podium next week as well. But I think, Adam, is it possible? Do we have a shoe lined up?
I think we're gonna give Paulo a minute or two here to get over and be able to watch this. So we'll get to Teddy here in just a minute. Save the best for last kind of thing, as far as, because everybody wants to see the shoey. Although I don't really want to say that about Carl, though, because Carl, fantastic race, man. You were able to hang in there, and you were gaining on those leaders at the end. And I really think you might have been thinking, if something happens with those two, you might have had a shot at it.
Hey, thanks, guys. Yeah, I was watching them race off of the distance, hoping that it got a little heated up there. But those guys were just too many at the beginning of the race. It was real tricky with the track conditions. It felt real slick out there, and I made a few mistakes in the opening few laps, and those guys were just perfect, and they got that gap that was kind of hard to ever eat back into. I was stoked about my pit stop. That went super smooth. Had a great race with Graham there for a long time. And yeah, pretty pumped to pull out the P3, especially after last week where I was rounding up the back of the field. So yeah, pretty happy with the result today.
Yeah, you mentioned that battle there with Graham. I mean, you two were pretty much in lockstep right up into the pit stops. What was the difference there?
I was saving fuel the whole time. I don't know. I think he was too, but I must have been able to do just save a little bit more, or maybe he had a little bit of an issue. I wasn't expecting to have a 3-second gap over him after the stops. But yeah, it was one of those things where you're following and, you feel like you're faster than the guy in front because you have the draft, and then as soon as you get by him, then, he's right on you the whole race. So it's like, man, I wish I would have switched positions. Now I'm just sweating more. But yeah, our pace was super even. He's a great driver, so that was a really good race. Just real nice, tight battle. And going through traffic is always real fun when you have another, close battle in class.
Well, next up, we've got Watkins Glen, and, slightly different, of course, than Sebring. I mean, definitely not flat, for instance, at Watkins Glen. You feel like you'll be able to replicate a podium finish there?
Yeah, I sure do hope so. I really like Watkins Glen. It's a great track. I don't have a ton of time on it since they've resurfaced it or since they've opened up with a new surface. So it'll be a learning experience for me. But I know the team has done a lot of work running SEO on a setup for Watkins. So hopefully we should be pretty competitive out the bag. And hopefully next week we can give those Pure Sims guys a run for their money.
Well, I'll tell you, I've been running L79 around there here for a while, so it's a lot more grippy. It's a lot more fun. It's definitely interesting. Hey, Carl, anybody like to thank here real quick?
Yeah, just thank family, friends, everyone that tunes in, all the organizers and broadcasters. Thank you guys for doing what you do. And then thanks to Delta Sport and Move Up Lynchburg.
All right. Well, there is your third place finisher in the LMP2s here for tonight. Thanks for joining us, Carl. And I believe up next, I shouldn't say I believe, I know up next, we've got Teddy. And this is a moment Michael has been looking forward to since last week. I, of course, was sick last week. I couldn't join for the broadcast, but I know Michael was there. So, Michael, take it away, buddy.
Teddy!
What's up, man?
You called it. I was joking last week when I said, are you going to call the P1 and are you going to do the shoey, and what are you eating? So, all right, what are you eating? What is it?
So
I see I
have, per your request, some alligator beef jerky. It's not alligator bites, but it's close enough. So I felt like that's okay.
I'm good with that.
And secondly, I have a shoe here and then some champagne. So if you guys don't mind.
Oh, and it's some tat, isn't it? You got some good champagne there.
Well, so I'll tell you a story, but cheers, boys.
Here it is, the shoey, folks. You've been waiting for this. Watch it run down. Some of it actually gets down his throat as well, but it's going all over the shoey shirt. We've got the shoey. The fans go wild. Now, did you take a bite of the alligator jerky with that too?
No. It's a little spicy.
I'm going to say that. Don't do it.
It's Cajun flavored, so it's really good, but it's really spicy. I don't think it'd be really good with this.
The champagne.
But, the champagne story, my wife and I bought a house a couple years ago, and when we moved in, our realtor gave us a bottle of champagne to drink. But there was a delay in getting into the house, so it was warm at the time she gave it to us. And, I feel like this is the perfect time to drink it. So okay.
Well, the shoey, I would say, is the highlight of the night, but I gotta say, 2.3 seconds is the story. So cone to cone, you were 2.3 seconds faster than Trepanier. How did you do? Were you just more brilliant at math? What happened? How were you able to do it? Is it the car is better at the fuel, or what was going on?
I totally screwed up the fuel a little bit. I saved enough to get the extra lap, which I don't think Vincent and Carlos could do. But when I was in the pit box, I was like, oh, it says I have 1 liter too much going into the car, so I clicked it 1 over to the left. And then when I got out on track, it said I was going to be like 0.3 short, so I had to save fuel the entire last whatever that was. made it a little more stressful than I could. My heart rate was like 148 when I got out when the race was done. So
well, Vincent was closing down on you at the end there, but it didn't look like he was going to be able to do it. Now, towards the end of the race, we had 1-2 intermixed with 1-2. You had both of the LMPs coming up there. We had Paulo Munoz and Mauricio Cuero kind of splitting between you and your P2 rival Trepanier. Was there a lump in your throat at that point?
Kind of. I know Paulo. We're pretty good friends, so I knew he'd be pretty respectful, but I didn't know how close his teammate was. So when they both passed me and they exited turn 1, I was like, oh no. Got pretty close into turn 2, so that was kind of fun to watch that. But yeah, hey, we got a win. Good start to the season. P3 last week, P1 this week. Pretty solid.
So well, now all you need is a P2 next week to fill it out. So is it going to be P2 next week, or are you going to just do another P1 and do a shoey again?
If I keep getting P1s, I'll do shoeys the whole season. But I like Watkins Glen. I did pretty well there last year. Screwed up quali and had to come from last, and I think I finished 4th. But looking forward to next week. Definitely going to put some practice in, and hopefully get to talk to you guys again and drink out of a shoe.
Right. Well, I think it was a brilliant pit strategy. Worked out beautifully for you. A little bit of issue. Carlos had some troubles that kind of didn't let him get back into there, but he's still on the podium. So it'll be an interesting battle next week. Looking forward to seeing it. Who do you have to thank?
First off, I'd like to thank my team, RSR Esport, and then their sponsors, ButtKicker, G Performance, Formula Hypersoft News, and then of course, shout out to you guys for putting up with me. The Precision Racing League and their sponsors, NinjaTrader and Advanced SimRacing and RaceLab Apps. So, this is fun. Been competing in this league for a while, and finally got a win. So, yeah, pretty happy about that.
Definitely feels good to get that win, especially at an iconic track like this. Looking forward to seeing you on the podium again next week. Looking forward to seeing another shoey next week. Let's make this a thing, a weekly shoey. How about that?
You know what? If we can have weekly shoeys, that means I had a pretty good season. So let's do it.
Sounds good to me. But I got to pass it back to Adam now, and we're going to close out the broadcast for you guys.
All right. Well, take one last swig out of
and a little less on the shirt this time. So we know he got some in there for sure.
That's right. I'm very interested to know what those gator sticks taste like. I'm very, very curious about that.
Apparently spicy enough to take your concentration off the race.
I like spicy, so that would be perfect. So, hey, congratulations to the podium to Paulo Munoz, Marcio Cuero, Carl Modoff, and the LMP2s, Ted Lewinick, Vincent Trepanier, and Carlos Vila there in the GT3s. As the night is beginning in Sebring, we will begin our night here as well with some shout-outs to some sponsors, and we'll close out the show. First, I want to thank the Majors Garage, home of free baseline plus setups, 24/7 coaching, and more. Head to majorsgarage.com and use our special discount code Majors GSRC for 10% off.
Also, ASR. They design and build the sturdiest and most durable aluminum profile racing simulation cockpits available in the market today. Visit them at advancedsimracing.com.
Hey, RaceLab helps you improve your driving skills. Start using it now for free at racelab.app.
And ButtKicker. Feel what you've been missing at thebuttkicker.com.
And last but not least, NinjaTrader. Get started with a risk-free trading simulator to start tracking your performance at NinjaTrader.com today. Hey, thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out her Bandcamp for more awesome work. Thanks to the team today, Michael, Zach, Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. And please check out our merchandise store, gsrc.storeenvy.com. We keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well, so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. Hey, next week we got the GT4s and TCR classes at Zandvoort, and then LMP2s and the GT3s are going to skip on over to Watkins Glen. That's going to be March 1st, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Eastern Daylight Time now. That's going to take some getting used to. We also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so please check those out and mark them down in your calendar. Till next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.